truly worthy of being the world's strongest blacksmith. Watching the pink trident floating up and down in the cauldron bubbling with a ghastly green foam, the red-haired director couldn't help but give a thumbs up, full of admiration as he said, "Even with such rudimentary tools, you can craft the finest anomalous objects. It's truly remarkable." "Humph. Such a fuss over nothing." With an impatient curl of his lips, an elder with a boxy head and eyes full of pride spoke. "Compared to when I was still alive, the tools for forging anomalies have become much better, but the skills of the blacksmiths have declined. Do you know why? Why? It's because they're too concerned with perfection, too meticulous about the forging environment and materials." With a downward jab of the tool in his hand, knocking off a large piece of lacquer from the iron cauldron, the boxy-headed elder grumbled with discontent. "The source of anomalies is emotion, it's obsession, it's anticipation. Ultimately, it's the power of the heart, and there is no standard answer for the heart. Nowadays, this bunch of forge masters always thinks that using the best tools and pairing them with the best materials will definitely produce good items. When they fail to create something satisfactory, they blame the materials or the process, completely ignoring the importance of the heart. This is simply going astray, completely unaware that his coffin lid had been stolen." The conversation-enthused third-generation director complained with a displeased look in his eyes. "Let me tell you, a person's heart is the most complex yet simplest thing. As long as you can understand it, figure it out, and guide it appropriately, that's enough. The process and tools are superficial. They can only influence your success rate, but not the quality of the product. If you don't believe me, watch me. Even with a furnace made of brick scraps and a pot casually picked up from the roadside, I can still forge true God-level anomalous objects. If it weren't for wanting the imagery of flame and forging, I wouldn't even need to use a pot. I could mold anomalies with my bare hands. How could I not believe you?" Glancing at the fork forming in the pot, the red-haired director, while secretly signaling Leon to return quickly, praised with a beaming smile. "From the beginning till now, for so many years, whenever the Taurus director's position was vacant, you have certainly been the world's best blacksmith. That alone is enough to prove your level. If I can't trust you, then whom can I trust?" "Hey, you're only saying that." After giving the flattering red-haired director a sidelong glance, the elder with the boxy head scoffed. "If you believe me, why don't you come to me more often to make things? I know what's in your heart. You're a sly little girl. Not a truthful word comes out of your mouth. If it weren't for the current Taurus sealing himself away, I probably wouldn't even see your face. You're wronging me there." Noticing out of the corner of his eye that Leon was carrying a coffin into the cemetery, the red-haired director exhaled slightly in relief. Squinting with fox-like eyes, he smiled and said, "I also wish I could come to you more often to make things. But firstly, you live in the realm of the dead all year round, so coming here once is really troublesome. Secondly, there hasn't been much significant change in recent years, so there hasn't been any good material either. As for those ordinary things, they can be left for regular forge masters to practice with. They're really not worth troubling you. Furthermore, even though they may not measure up to a fraction of your level in a lifetime, they are still inheritors of the secret smithing techniques. If I trouble you for slightly better things, those ordinary forge masters would never get a chance to practice. What happens then when the Bureau's secret smithing techniques are lost to history? Tisk, if you ask me, with your current level, there's no difference if it's lost to history. All right, that kid, come over. The thing is done." "Okay." Seeing the elder with the boxy head had finished forging, Leon, who had already placed the coffin lid back in its original spot, quickly stepped forward, merging completely with the illusion created by the red-haired director, and then walked swiftly towards the two of them. "Huh? What's with you, kid?" Noticing the sweat beads on Leon's forehead, the elder with the boxy head frowned with a puzzled look and asked, "This here furnace is colder than ice water. How did you end up sweating? Damn, I'm gonna blow my cover." Hearing the third-generation director's inquiry, sweat broke out on Leon's brow. He quickly raised the back of his hand to wipe it off and then, following the communication method taught by the director beforehand, respectfully said, "It must be that I'm excited. The contemporary Taurus, His Excellency, once guided me and imparted some entry-level techniques of the secret smithing techniques, so I can be considered a forge master. For a forge master, to witness firsthand the forging process of the undeniably greatest blacksmith in history, I'm really thrilled beyond control, hence a little sweaty. Teske, another little brat whose mouth is full of lies. Although he could tell at a glance that Leon was just spouting nonsense, the elder with the boxy head couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth upwards upon hearing the wording, undeniably greatest blacksmith in history. He then dismissively waved his hand. Forget it if you don't want to say. I don't care to ask. You come here. Since you're brought by Olivia, if there's anything you don't understand in the secret smithing techniques, I can offer you a little guidance. Guided by me? Hearing the elder with the boxy head's words, Leon couldn't help but feel a slight joy flash across his expression. What the director said was indeed true. The core logic in communicating with this third generation His Excellency was not to leave out strongest blacksmith from every 3 sentences. As long as you could manage to say that, it didn't matter what else you talked about. Thank you, third generation. Activating the badge panel, Leon simultaneously switched on the badges Arcane Inheritor, Taurus, and Arcane Inheritor, Aquarius. Then bowed to the elder with the boxy head with gratitude and apology before inquiring. I wanted to ask you. Wait. I haven't finished speaking yet. Raising a hand to signal for a moment, the third generation director folded his arms and slightly tilted his head. While I don't mind guiding you a bit, not just anyone is worthy of my guidance. You need to let me first take a look at your level. Upon hearing this, Leon blinked slightly, glanced at the cauldron bubbling with green foam, and said with some difficulty, Are you saying you want me to forge an anomalous? Forget about making stuff. Hearing Leon's words, the elder with the boxy head responded with a hint of disdain. The current level of forge masters is too poor. Watching you all carve things like flowers is irritatingly bothersome, and I don't want to suffer that. Here's the deal. Since you were standing nearby observing how I forge anomalies, let's use this as the test. Reaching into the cauldron and digging around, he tossed the item sunk at the bottom of the pot to Leon and noticed Leon's hesitant expression and obvious lack of confidence in the test. Then, the elder with the boxy head chuckled oddly and said, Go on, without pouring power into it to activate it. Use what you've learned from the current Taurus and refer to my previous creation process. Explain what kind of anomalous object I've crafted for you. You want me to talk about what kind of anomalous object this is? How is this different from giving away points? After hearing the test project proposed by the third generation director, Leon couldn't help but scratch the back of his head, a little shyly saying, Why don't you choose another topic? This kind of open book exam was naturally easy to pass, but the other party was, after all, the second best anomaly forge master in the world. When Taurus His Excellency ascended, they would become the best forge master, and Leon knew he'd seek their expertise in forging many times in the future. And this third generation director had a peculiar temperament and held forging in high regard. If he tried to outsmart him in this area and left a bad impression, it might not be worth the risk. After briefly weighing the pros and cons, Leon sincerely suggested, Third generation, I actually have an anomalous object that can forcibly acquire intelligence, so this topic for me, no need to change, just this one. Without hesitation, the square-headed old man impatiently waved his hand, rejecting Leon's good intention, saying, You hold yourself in too high esteem. The base materials of this object are the tail and weapon of a true god, and besides, it was forged personally by me, so its hierarchy is quite high. What can a level 3 cleanser like you see? Third generation, the hierarchy of my anomalous object isn't low either, so it can probably then use it. If it can directly see the intelligence, I'll count you as passing. This is what you said. Feeling a bit ignored despite his kind-hearted reminder, Leon couldn't help but furrow his brow slightly. He then reached into his pocket, touching a palm-sized crimson fork that looked more like a tuning fork than a trident, and read from the panel that appeared. What you crafted for me should be called the Lust Dream Invader. akin to a Holy Spirit pendant I once owned, possessing 3 traits: Holy, Interference, and Whisper. The corresponding abilities include causing additional damage to targets like Evil and Chaos, briefly interfering with reality using the power of the Dream Realm, and causing the target's soul to tremble through contact. Upon hearing Leon's words, the square-headed old man raised his brows slightly, looking quite astonished as he remarked, "You saw this quite accurately, even recognizing the soul tremor effect. It seems Taurus, His Excellency, has taught you well." Asterisk, what does this have to do with being taught well? I was just reading it word for word. Asterisk. Unable to resist an eye roll in his mind, Leon quickened his pace and continued reading. To minimize the impact of switching the main battle anomalous object, you deliberately allowed the Lust Dream Invader to retain traits similar to the Holy Spirit pendant during the forging process. However, due to material differences, the Lust Dream Invader is more directed towards the soul rather than the body. Once the Lust Dream Invader identifies a target, any form of contact, whether it's physical touch, verbal exchange, or even eye contact, will cause the soul to tremble to some extent. And the more frequent the contact, the stronger the tremor. At that point, the Lust Dream Invader can leverage the power of the Dream Realm, using the target's soul tremor as a springboard to actively corrode the target and the surrounding real world, achieving scenes that can only exist in dreams. If the contact with me is frequent enough, or I pay enough power, it can even summon the power of the Lord of Lustful Dreams, forcibly dragging the target into a dream created by their own desires. Isn't this a bit too detailed? When Leon first started reading the panel, the square-headed old man was just a little surprised. But as Leon described the Lust Dream Invader abilities precisely, his mouth gradually widened in disbelief. As Leon accelerated his speech and explained the Lust Dream Invader effects perfectly, in ways even more accurate than the forger himself, the square-headed man's jaw dropped further in awe. Asterisk, this is crazy. I've seen this generation's Taurus, and, in terms of level, she's just mediocre. Even if she came to the realm of the dead herself, without infusing power to activate the anomalous object, relying solely on experience to guess wouldn't yield such accurate results. So what's going on with this kid? Could he really evaluate true God-level anomalous objects? Asterisk. In the shocked gaze of the square-headed old man, Leon finished detailing the Lust Dream Invader's abilities. He wasn't done yet. He raised his hand again, pointing to the bubbling cauldron, and said, "Also, you actually crafted 2 anomalous objects this time. The Lust Dream Invader you just gave me was created using the weapon of the Lord of Lustful Dreams. As for the anomalous object crafted from the tail of the Goddess of Fortune, it should still be hiding at the bottom of the cauldron. And you've noticed that I wasn't present earlier and knew I didn't watch your forging process, so you chose this question because you actually dislike current forge masters and look down on their forging techniques, thus not intending to genuinely guide successors. You mentioned guiding me mainly because you heard I was once guided by the Taurus Director, intending to use my inability to answer this question to mock the Taurus Director's level, proving you are the truly best forge master, and that Taurus, His Excellency, surpasses you only by the power bestowed by the Star Palace. Cough, cough, cough. Afraid Leon would continue talking and even reveal the color of his underpants during forging. The square-headed old man coughed loudly twice, quickly interrupting him and saying, "That's enough. That's enough. No need to continue, you've passed the test." The blushing third-generation director hurriedly turned around, fetched a roll of black snakeskin from the cauldron, and handed it to Leon. Then, in an effort to explain himself, said, "Well, actually, I wasn't planning to keep anything from you, it was just a joke on us." The red-haired director chimed in just in time, smiling as he said, "With a forge master as perceptive as you must have noticed our little moves long ago. Likely, you guessed what we were up to the moment I deliberately kept Leon from speaking with you. You must have been annoyed with our lack of trust in you, borrowing your coffin in secret without telling you, so you withheld an anomalous object to play a little joke on us, right?" "Yes, yes, yes. That's exactly what I meant." Eagerly stepping down from the red-haired director's offered platform, The square-headed old man, now relieved, confessed with embarrassment. Actually, I am quite willing to guide the next generation. It's just that these last 7 or 8 years, I've been in a bit of a mood. This generation's Taurus forging level isn't that impressive either. Originally, I planned to wait for her to die of old age, stripped of the Star Palace's blessings, to compare our souls and prove I am the best forge master. Unexpectedly, she ascended to the Star Palace, not even giving me a chance to compete, so I have been feeling uncomfortable, wanting to make things a bit difficult for you all. Ahem, let's not talk about this anymore. After awkwardly glossing over the topic, the square-headed old man, his face still flushed, said to Leon, "Well, it just so happens I have a furnace here. Why don't you forge an anomalous object right away, and I'll guide you properly?" Compared to his casual remarks earlier, the third-generation director's attitude seemed to be a lot more sincere this time. Observing the expression on the square-headed old man, Leon couldn't help but raise an eyebrow thoughtfully. Then he subconsciously glanced behind the square-headed old man. The gaze that met his was none other than that of the red-haired director, with a mysterious smile and fox-like eyes. Asterisk kiss. Could it be that, from stealing the coffin earlier to seeking guidance just now, all of this was part of your plan? But how did you know I would mention the Taurus director, thus provoking the third-generation director's competitive spirit? Asterisk. Whether or not it was the director's arrangement, the guidance of a forge master was not something to miss. In the arrangement of the square-headed old man, no, the third-generation director who liked guiding juniors, the perplexed Leon stood in front of the black, pitchy cauldron, picked up the rusty ladle, and took up a smithing stance. Then he looked at the third-generation director standing across the cauldron with his hands behind his back. Question mark. After waiting a while without seeing Leon start smithing, the square-headed old man silently asked in an exasperated voice, "You don't even have any practice materials? Do I have to prepare those for you too?" "I'm sorry." Leon nodded in response, somewhat sheepishly explaining, "Third generation, sir. I've only been with the Purification Bureau for 2 months, so I really don't have much on hand. So, ha!" Hearing Leon's words, the square-headed old man's eyes widened in disbelief. "Olivia said you joined the Purification Bureau last year, so you're not more than a year in, but only joined for just over 2 months. Actually, it hasn't even been 2 months." Watching the third-generation director's face twitch repeatedly, seemingly about to lose it, Leon, worried that upsetting this big shot might result in him not teaching anymore, had no choice but to nod and accept the just over 2 months explanation, replying awkwardly, "I did join the Virgin branch last year, but it was right at the year's end when I joined, so..." Asterisk, so you're just a beginner? And if you've only been with the Purification Bureau for over 2 months, how long could you have been practicing Anomaly Forge? 60 days? So you just started learning Anomaly Forge and came to seek advice from me, the strongest forge master in history? What's the difference between that and teaching an idiot to calculate the sun's angle? Asterisk. Not willing to take on such an impossible task, but unable to back out after having made a promise, the third-generation director scratched his scalp in frustration, shedding dandruff as he asked with faint hope, "Then, how long has it been since you started with Anomaly Forge?" Leon, upon hearing this, recalled for a moment, and then blushed slightly as he held up 5 fingers. 50 days. Last Friday. Are you two here to mess with me? The psychological defense, already on edge, was shattered by Leon's last Friday, prompting the third-generation director of the Purification Bureau to take a deep breath. He stomped the ground forcefully, pointing towards the cemetery entrance while yelling angrily, "Go! You go! All of you go!" "Third generation, sir. There's no need to rush." As if he'd anticipated this outcome, the red-haired director smiled and said, "Even though Leon hasn't been with Anomaly Forge for long, his talent with the secret techniques is excellent. Besides the Taurus lineage's abnormal forging secret technique, he's also dabbled in the Aquarius lineage's abnormal Genesis sorcery." "What? He's learned 2 secret techniques?" It might even be 3. This generation's Pisces director seems to have taken an interest in Leon as well. In any case, Leon definitely has a talent for secret techniques. Seeing the square-headed old man's apparent interest, the red-haired director continued with a smile. Plus, Taurus His Excellency once said that once she had ascended, Leon could attempt to succeed her as the next Taurus director. If she weren't currently in self-imposed isolation, she might have personally taught Leon. You, being the world's greatest in smithing, lack only the Taurus Star Palace's recognition. As a result, you have always missed being the top forge master, becoming merely the second best. Don't you regret it? 3rd generation, sir, just think about it. Although you can't become the first among the living, if you could train a forge master who becomes the next Taurus, then... Stop. Don't play tricks on me. Shaking his head vigorously, the 3rd generation director barely broke free from the brainwashing pitch and pouted. You said all this just to persuade me to teach him, right? No way. Even if I wanted to train a Taurus, I wouldn't choose leftovers. This kid's already been guided by Taurus, and if he does become the new Taurus, that credit might not even go to me. So I won't teach. I definitely won't teach. Really not going to teach? Absolutely not. 3rd generation, sir. Could it be that you're afraid? Glancing at the suspicion-filled face of the red-haired director, the square-headed old man burst into laughter, raising a hand to point at Leon. Afraid of him? What's there to be afraid of? Afraid he might surpass you. The red-haired director slightly tilted her head, thoughtfully saying, Leon, with 2 secret techniques under his belt, and favored by this generation's Taurus, could push the limits of secret smithing techniques further if he learned your smithing methods. If that ever happened, you wouldn't be the strongest forge master in history anymore. And if he were to die, and you ended up losing a match against Leon's soul, then... You're talking nonsense, the square-headed old man retorted angrily. Damn it, you're deliberately trying to use words to provoke me, to make me teach him with all my might. Do you think I can't see through this? Yep, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Unashamedly admitting to his plan, the red-haired director mischievously asked, So, will you teach him or not? Leon's exceptionally talented. Taurus His Excellency even once said that if she were to teach him, Leon's future would at least. Shut up. I'll teach. Isn't it enough if I teach him? Exasperated, huffing and puffing, the 3rd generation director stomped his foot hard, then rushed back to his recently dug-up grave, scooped out a pile of stuff buried there, and casually tossed it at Leon's feet. Take it. Use whichever one you want. Damn it. I'd really like to see what you can forge. Got it, the director brought me here to loot. Glancing down at the materials, which were piled like trash at his feet, exuding an aura almost as strong as Snake Tail, all of them at least of Holy Spirit level, and noting the red-haired director's persistent winks at him, Leon quietly picked one up and tossed it into the cauldron, mimicking the movements of the square-headed old man before, stirring with the large ladle. Although it feels a bit wrong to mess with the old man. Since the director isn't drunk right now, there must be a good reason for what she's doing, so I can only choose to trust her. Name. The Foot of Fitness. Sacred, flesh and blood. Appearance. A human right foot sculpture with smooth muscles and clear joints, resembling marble. Ability. Sacred aura, sturdy flesh and blood. Cost. The body would become as heavy as marble, slightly reducing movement speed. File. Arcane Inheritor Leon Lane crafted this special anomalous object using 2 secret techniques from the Purification Bureau, with fragments of the Bayan Holy Spirit's right foot toe, to make the user's right foot as beautiful as a god statue in a temple, while slightly enhancing movement speed. Evaluation. The least valuable sacred creation in history, bar none. Contamination value, 0.1, maximum contamination value 49. The effect was to slightly increase movement speed, but the cost was to slightly decrease it. I sped up only to slow down again. After touching the marble right foot floating in the pot, Even though he was prepared for the creation of a useless, anomalous object, Leon still fell into silence. This situation somehow felt slightly familiar. After touching the cufflinks in his pocket, he took out the Egg of Sharpness, crafted in front of the Taurus Pavilion, and upon seeing the evaluation, the least valuable demon creation in history. Leon's mouth twitched violently. Maybe I should just give up. I really don't seem to have any talent in this area. Is it over? Watching Leon stop, no longer stirring the green concoction in the pot, the third-generation director standing beside him grabbed the ladle, fished out the marble right foot from the pot, and took a sharp intake of breath. This is what you created with Holy Spirit-level materials. Hearing this, Leon couldn't help but blush, nodding shamefully. No. This can't be. Holding the pristine marble right foot, the third-generation director gestured with it for a while, infused his own power, and attempted to activate it multiple times, finally exclaiming with bewilderment, "This can't be right. These are Holy Spirit-level materials after all. How could it possibly? Darn. Hey you! Can't you tell the function of an anomalous object by just touching it? After touching it, what was the result? What exactly is this thing's ability? This can make a person slightly faster, but it also slightly slows them down by making their body heavier. And then what? Then, it can make a person's right foot a bit prettier. I could see that already. So what then? What's its core ability? That's it. This can't be. After several attempts with the Foot of Fitness, the third-generation director found it was indeed as Leon said. Aside from making the right foot seem divine, it had no other abilities, leading him to squat beside the pot and painfully tear at his hair. Damn it. These are Holy Spirit-level materials. Holy Spirit. Even if you just tossed the materials in the pot and did nothing, it wouldn't end up like this, would it? How the hell did you accomplish this? Come on. Craft another one. Let me see. Unable to fathom how Leon could manage this, the red-eyed old man with the square head got up with a start, rifled through the pile of materials, tossed 2 items into the large iron pot, and grit his teeth while commanding, "Quick, craft! Let me see how exactly you're doing this." Name: Demon Registry. Corruption. Record. Appearance: a scroll with ferocious, bright red patterns, emitting a faint sulfurous scent. When touched, one might occasionally hear an enraged roar of a great demon. Ability: names of demons, name recording. Cost. File: Arcane Inheritor Leon Lane crafted this special anomalous object using 2 secret techniques from the Purification Bureau, with Hell Redstone powder and the toughest small piece of skin from the cursed pattern Devil's Back. Writing one's name on it awakens the great demon's soul sealed inside, which personally translates the user's name into demon script, giving them a stylish, demonic name. Evaluation: this anomalous object successfully dethroned Leon Lane's first creation, Egg of Sharpness, as the least valuable demon creation in history, bar none. Contamination value: 0.1, maximum contamination value 42. With trembling hands, he wrote down his name, and seeing that the demon skin scroll only translated the name into demon script without any change, the third-generation director of the Purification Bureau felt the world spinning, then turned around to glare at Leon, eyes aflame with frustration. "Where's the redstone? Where's the redstone? I obviously tossed in 2 materials, so why is it only the skin of the cursed pattern devil? Where's the redstone powder?" The redstone powder you tossed in should be on the back of this thing." Receiving the demon registry from the trembling hands of the square-headed old man, Leon pointed to the bright red ferocious patterns on the back, saying somewhat apologetically, "Look, these dyed red areas should be the redstone powder." Dyed. Dyed areas? Hidden in the depths of the Crimson Lotus Hell. Only 20 kilograms of hell redstone could be mined from a mountain, and you only managed to dye something with it? How about, we call it a day? Seeing the third-generation director standing still with both hands holding the demon registry, like a statue, motionless and even stopping his breath, Leon couldn't bear to continue inflicting misfortune on this unfortunate old man. Speaking up uncontrollably, third-generation director, I really haven't been involved in secret smithing techniques for long, hardly just started. Using the materials you provide right now is such a waste, so why not?
No.
This isn't a matter of waste, nor is it about being a beginner. It's a matter of incompetence. Astonishing incompetence. After hearing Leon's words, the third-generation director dully lifted his head, looking at Leon as if he were a monster, and enunciated almost word by word. Given the materials I provided, even if it were a pig standing where you are, stirring its hooves in the pot, it wouldn't produce something this incompetent. Damn it! Did this generation's Taurus really teach you? You weren't just tricking me? Were you? No, Taurus His Excellency really did teach me. Oh right. Recalling his learning experience, Leon said with a peculiar expression. At that time, she showed me a piece of history, the situation when the predecessors of the Purification Bureau learned the Taurus secret arts, and I learned secret smithing techniques from the people in that memory. Asterisk learned from people of the past? Does that mean this generation's Taurus didn't teach him but directly showed him the memory projection of some previous Taurus? Asterisk. Hearing this, the third-generation director frowned in confusion, then disgustedly asked, "Whose memory of the Taurus director did you see? Who taught you that crap of a secret smithing technique? Was it the worst-performing sixth-generation Taurus?" No, I saw the memory of the third-generation Taurus director." The third generation's memory? Hearing Leon's words, the square-headed old man instinctively frowned. The third-generation Taurus was quite capable, perhaps not equal to himself but still among the better ones, and there was no way he'd teach something this incompetent, right? He remembered when he learned secret techniques alongside the Taurus often stood behind him, learning from him, somewhat managing to grasp 80 to 90% of his skills. Asterisk wait. Learning from me? Seeing the evasive eyes and embarrassment of Leon, the square-headed old man suddenly awakened, lifting his hand, pointing shakily at his own nose, lips trembling as he inquired, "Me? Yes. So, you mean to tell me that this earth-piercing blacksmithing is something you learned from me?" After receiving an affirmative answer from Leon, the third-generation director felt his head buzzing, as if 1,000 bells were struck hard from inside to out, making his soul tremble with madness. Asterisk, how many years have my actual body been dead? And yet there's someone who can tarnish my reputation? If other blacksmiths see this blacksmithing technique, do I still have the face to call myself the strongest blacksmith? Asterisk. No, absolutely not. Looking at the scroll that should hold a powerful great demon but was only useful for translating names, the square-headed old man gritted his teeth, stomped his foot, and threw 2 more items into the pot, angrily shouting, "Continue. Follow my movements. Do exactly as I do. Not a single deviation. Third generation, sir. Maybe let's forget about the guidance." Looking at the foot of fitness and the demon registry in his hand, Leon really didn't want to waste these precious materials any further. From the bottom of his heart, he suggested, "I might really not have the talent for secret smithing techniques. Gathering all these things wasn't easy for you. Continuing to let me use them is a waste. And since I'm the one giving up, you don't have to feel like you're breaking a promise. Shut your mouth. Get to work." The square-headed old man stomped his foot again, the veins on his forehead bulging as he roared. "It's not about the promise. The most important thing now is my reputation. Damn it. Even if I have to throw all the materials in today, I have to teach you, at the very least, to be better than a pig. Otherwise, my reputation in the smithing world is gone for good." But, no buts. The square-headed old man, face twisted with fury, menacingly threatened, "If the news that I taught you can't be kept secret, I might as well destroy your heart. Get moving. Follow the steps I taught you. Not a single step wrong. If your wrist trembles even a bit, I'll fight you for it." But The memory of the third-generation Taurus mentions, you once concluded that anomalies are born from the power of the mind, which doesn't have a right answer, and a good blacksmith shouldn't get too hung up on technique and environment, just follow the heart's guidance. Screw the guidance. Directly denying the smithing philosophy he had followed all his life, the square-headed old man bellowed in rage. That's for pursuing the upper limit. Right now, you stabilize the lower limit for me. Quickly, before the whispering wolf's mane breaks apart. Stir clockwise 50 times for me. Exactly 50 turns. Not one more, not one less. All right then. Though heartbroken over the wasted precious materials, seeing the third-generation director's expression as if he could swallow him whole, Leon had to give up persuading him to change his mind. Under the square-headed old man's scolding, he began the smithing process, step by precise step. First 50 clockwise turns, then smash the white stone at the bottom of the pot with force, rotate counterclockwise for 50 turns, and wait until the pot. Oh no, wait. When the mixture achieved a moon-like luster, then pour in his thoughts, imagining a full moon diving into the pot, solidifying the crushed stones again, forming a small container to incorporate the rotating gray wolf hairs inside. Name: Wolf Witch Magic Potion Bottle, Witchcraft, Flesh. Appearance: a palm-sized moon-white potion bottle that automatically fills when placed under the moonlight of a full moon. Ability: Witch's Curse, Flesh Mutation. Cost: the potion tastes terrible, similar to a wash for wolves and dogs. File: Arcane Inheritor Leon Lane, combining 2 secret techniques of the Purification Bureau, using Moon River Fluorite and Whispering Wolf Mane as materials, meticulously following the Sorcerer's secret text process, and a bit of imagination to create this special anomalous object. After drinking the potion in the bottle, the user will grow a large circle of fluffy dark gray wolf mane around the neck, and their voice will become deep and charming when speaking. Evaluation: the most worthless witchcraft creation in history, without exception. Contamination value: 0.1, maximum contamination value 32. Maybe, let's call it a day. Shut your mouth. Continue. This time I'll mold the base for you. You just add the supplementary ingredients. Oh. Name: Noontime Mirror. Memory: Reflection. Appearance: a strangely misted mirror, with a frame edge stained with strange broth. Ability: Memory Reflection, Historical Image. Cost: you might feel hungry after using it. File: Arcane Inheritor Leon Lane, using 2 secret techniques of the Purification Bureau, and utilizing a pre-polished Afterlife bronze mirror as a base. Added a slight amount of sun-obscuring mist collected near the sun's orbit, crafted when distracted by an empty stomach, creating this special anomalous object. When sitting in front of the mirror during lunchtime, the mist on the noontime mirror clears, showing the reflection of what the user ate at their last lunch. Evaluation: the most worthless memory-type anomalous object in history, without exception. Contamination value: 0.1, maximum contamination value 41. Maybe. Shut up. This time I'll complete all the processes for you in advance. You just need to sign your name on it. Damn it. If even this turns out trash, then I'll accept it. I'll try then. Name: Leon Lane's Album of Gastronomic Memory, Knowledge, Memory. Appearance: a stack of edible blank paper rolls, with a sizable living root system at the end. Once the paper rolls are all used, bury the roots in soil and water them for regrowth. Ability: Knowledge Infusion Memory Writing. Cost: the rough fibers cause severe abdominal pain and indigestion when eaten, and are expelled quickly from the body. File: Arcane Inheritor Leon Lane. Used Taurus Secret Arts to slightly modify the completed Album of Gastronomic Memory. Cover. Signed his name, forging this special anomalous object. When valuable knowledge is written on the paper roll and consumed, the knowledge on the roll is inscribed directly into your memory, never forgotten until naturally expelled. Evaluation: Although the anomalies forged still don't justify the dead marsh-dispersing spirit devil reed used as forging material, this is, by far, the most useful piece created by anomaly forge master Leon Lane. Contamination value, 0.1, maximum contamination value 51. In the deathly silent stillness, watching the square-headed old man holding the album of gastronomic memory. Slightly trembling, Leon scratched the back of his head awkwardly, softly saying, "Seems like I made a bit of progress, huh? Get out. Take this trash and get out. Don't ever let me see you again this lifetime." Ah ha ha ha. As soon as they were kicked out of the cemetery, the red-haired director, whose face was flushed crimson, couldn't help but burst into laughter. While laughing, he vigorously patted Leon on the back. Good grief. That old third-generation's expression when watching your forging was as if you were cooking something foul in his rice pot. His face turned blue. Ah ha ha ha. Oh no, I can't take it anymore, I really can't. Putting an arm around Leon's shoulder, the red-haired director leaned against him, trying to mimic the square-headed old man's face. He gasped for breath between fits of laughter, saying, "That old third generation. Haha. Although he's not a bad guy, that mouth of his is really annoying. Taurus, His Excellency, is such a nice person, but every time that old guy sees her, his first question is always when she might die. I've long wanted to teach him a lesson." Ah ha ha ha. After finishing his tale of petty grievances with the square-headed old man, the red-haired director laughed and said, "Leon, do you know what he said to me before you came back? He said he looks down on the current forge masters, thinks they focus too much on the process, they're just a bunch of hopeless trash. But when it came to teaching you, he couldn't help but want to stand right behind you, guiding your hand step by step. Every time your hand trembled, his face twitched along with it. Oh no, I'm about to die of laughter." Asterisk, if he were merely an onlooker, Leon would probably laugh along with him. But being the person who had personally cooked the foul dish in the joke, he just couldn't bring himself to laugh. Asterisk. Watching the red-haired director laugh so hard, he was nearly sprawled against him. Leon couldn't help but say helplessly, "Director, with you like this, I can't walk. We've been kicked out for a while now, and we haven't even walked 10 meters. Okay. Then I'll hold it in." Pursing his lips tightly, the red-haired director finally managed to stifle his laughter. Then he hummed softly with a bitten lower lip. "Just as well, you've probably held back for quite a while. Whatever questions you have, just ask." Then let me ask, did you do all this on purpose just now? "I did, but not entirely," the red-haired director said with a sly smile. "The reason I brought you over was actually to ask him to help you make a new primary anomalous object and to teach you some secret smithing techniques, maybe even trick him out of a few good materials. You saw how many things he's hoarded. Some have lost much of their power because they've been buried for so long. Instead of letting them waste away completely, it's better to use them to make anomalous objects for you. But I didn't manage to create anything." Recalling what he had forged, Leon's mouth twitched slightly before he sighed and said, "Leaving them buried in his coffin might have been better than letting me waste them." "That might not be the case." Hearing this, the red-haired director shook his head and then reminded him with a grin, "Did you forget? Besides the Lust Dream Invader, third generation, His Excellency made you another anomalous object. Don't you want to look at it first?" Asterisk, another anomalous object? The black snake skin? Could its ability change the anomalous objects I create? But how do you know? Asterisk. Hearing the red-haired director's reminder, Leon asked in surprise, "Director, you understand forging? You can tell the function of that snake skin?" "I don't understand forging, but I understand luck," the red-haired director said with a grin. "Today is my birthday. Every cleaner gets a blessing from the Master of Starry Skies on their birthday, granting luck akin to having wishes come true. As long as the wish isn't utterly impossible, there's a chance it will happen. So far today I've made 2 wishes, and the second one was to help you get the most suitable anomalous object. My intuition tells me that snake skin is definitely what suits you best. A birthday wish? Hearing the red-haired director's words, Leon couldn't help but be slightly taken aback. Last year, on my birthday, I inadvertently triggered this blessing. But according to the Black Goat, the blessing comes with a curse. After the stroke of good luck, there comes misfortune, and with each wish fulfilled, bad luck follows. A wish so precious, available only once a year and with a cost, was used to help me get an anomalous object? How could I ever repay this kindness? Asterisk. Thank you. Looking at the smiling red-haired woman in front of him, Leon said with grateful eyes,
Directo y.
All right, no need for thanks. Just take care of my first wish later. After securing a promise from Leon, the red-haired director eagerly urged him, Quick, just touch that snake skin. I'm super curious to know what abilities the most suitable anomalous object for you will have. All right. Hearing this, Leon nodded, then carefully took out the black snake skin, gently caressing it with great care. Name: Unfair Snake Pact. Trade: Contract. Appearance: a roll of smooth black snake skin, which unfolds into a black contract that can be rewritten repeatedly. Ability: Equitable exchange, forced contract making. Cost: cannot be signed through ordinary means, requires a substantial consumption of the user's blood to inscribe text onto the contract. File: an anomalous object personally forged by the anomalous Spirit of Forging, made from the black snake tail that mutated from the body after the goddess of fortune swallowed the snake spirit. Contains a special authority called Everything Can Be Exchanged, along with part of the goddess of fortune's contract authority. When the user uses their own blood as a catalyst and writes their name and their trading target's name on the Unfair Snake Pact, a one-sided trading contract will be forcibly established. Any item currently possessed by the other party can be written for a fair equivalent exchange. Evaluation: please do not use your ability to obtain intelligence on the opponent's anomalous objects, nor should you write any evidence gathered onto the contract as a target for forced exchange. Moreover, do not use those high-contamination value garbage objects you yourself have created to forcibly exchange for other people's valuable core anomalous objects. Methods such as these are far too despicable, and even if you win the battle, you won't be happy. Contamination value: 59, 6.5. Hiss. Having read the description of the Unfair Snake Pact and understood the effects of this most suitable anomalous object, Leon gasped in surprise. Just by touching the opponent's anomalous object and writing it on the Unfair Snake Pact, an equitable exchange can be forced? Thus, when the other party loses a powerful core anomalous object, they receive an equivalent value of a new anomalous object that possibly makes the right foot look better, can suggest a stylish demon name, can grow a cool wolf neck scarf, can transform the voice into a sexy bass, can reveal what was eaten for the last lunch, or even can serve as a digestive aid. Asterisk. Despicable. Truly too despicable. Asterisk. What's wrong? Seeing Leon standing in a daze after touching the serpent skin scroll without saying a word for quite a while, the red-haired director couldn't help but curiously ask, What ability does this serpent skin have exactly? Why did you fall silent after just one glance? This serpent skin. Leon snapped back to reality, smacking his lips and speaking with a complicated look in his eyes. It's called the Unfair Snake Pact. Once I write both my name and another person's name on it, we can forcibly engage in a contract to exchange whatever we are currently holding, including any anomalous objects. If the value of the exchanged items is not completely equal, I'll need to use my power to make up the difference. A forced exchange? After hearing Leon's explanation, the red-haired director pondered for a moment, then asked with a puzzled expression, I can understand why it's called a snake pact, given its power derives from the trading authority of that snake and the contract authority of the goddess of fortune. The name makes sense. But why is the prefix unfair? Based on your description, the transaction process sounds quite fair, doesn't it? The transaction process is indeed fair at first glance, but considering the goods I have for the trade, It seems quite unfair. Do you mean that the items you've crafted can also be used to exchange someone else's anomalous objects? Directly interpreting the answer from Leon's expression, the red-haired director asked. Her eyes filled with a hint of surprise. Leon, how do you calculate the value of the items you've crafted? How many Leon value anomalous objects can they exchange for? The value of the anomalous objects I forged should be calculated according to the materials and the power they contain. The foot of fitness made from Baiyan Holy Spirit is 49. The demon register containing a great demon is 42. The wolf witch magic potion bottle is 32. The noontime mirror is 41. And the album of gastronomic memory is 51. Asterisk, so someone's anomalous object with a Leon value of 30 to 50 can be traded for by you just writing its name on the unfair snake pact, swapping it for these leftovers, these anomalous items with quite subtle effects. Asterisk. Then the name is indeed aptly chosen. Nodding in considerable agreement, the red-haired director excitedly asked, How many? How many people can you sign a contract with at most? How many times can each person sign? Well, although you can erase and rewrite it, there is only one contract, so it should only be signed once. Ah, I see. The red-haired director replied somewhat disappointedly. If there's only one chance, it can't be used as a routine measure and must be reserved as a key trump card. It's a pity. If you were able to contract freely, just the two of us together might have been enough to capture the Aquarius director outright with your forced exchange. It's just two. Wait a moment. Suddenly remembering something, the red-haired director's expression turned a bit excited as she suggested, Isn't the goddess of fortune interested in collaborating with you? Once she's recovered from her injuries, arrange a meeting and let's take another piece of her tale. Huh? What do you mean, huh? She not only ambushed you but nearly killed Senior Emma. Thinking of her unconscious best friend and those nearly completely emerald arms, the red-haired director's charming fox-like eyes slightly narrowed. Her tone tinged with a chill. The scales gold sect. Heh, if it weren't for the business with Aquarius and Watcher's Palace forcing Taurus, His Excellency to seal himself at headquarters, I'd go file a report right now requesting permission for a joint operation with the Lion Bureau to take down the Goddess of Fortune directly. Such a commanding presence, my director. Observing the normally witty and sly director, who always wore a smiling expression, become truly angry for once and reveal a commanding aura befitting the position of Director of Zodiac, Leon couldn't help but give her a thumbs up. Exactly. We definitely need to settle this score. Also, we can call Senior Emma to join us then. Let her vent her anger too. Of course. Casting an approving glance at Leon, who shared her determination for revenge, the red-haired director softened her gaze and said with a cheerful smile, After we settle the score, if we manage to create a second unfair snake pact, then it's yours to use again. This object demands a great deal of intelligence, matching perfectly with your ability. A second one for me to use? Hearing the red-haired director's promise, Leon blinked slightly, feeling somewhat touched.
Directo y.
No need for thanks, mainly because this item suits you best. Likely only you can collect so many special anomalous objects. Making a hand gesture to say stop, the red-haired director somehow produced a small bottle from nowhere and said with a sly smile, If you really want to thank me, just fulfill my birthday wish as we agreed before. All right? Sure. Hearing the red-haired director's request, Leon, full of gratitude, nodded without hesitation, then curiously asked, Director, your second wish was to help me acquire suitable anomalous objects. What was your first wish? Is it difficult to achieve? Not difficult at all, very simple. Handing over the small bottle in her hand, the red-haired director said with a face full of anticipation, Just take a big sip of this and close your eyes. What kind of strange wish is this? Glancing at the familiar small bottle in his hand and then at the director, who was smiling like a little fox, Leon's brows furrowed slightly. He unscrewed the bottle but didn't immediately comply, instead cautiously sniffing it. The scent of blackberry, cedar, spices, and blood orange. A complex and rich aroma, yet unmistakably fresh and invigorating, rushed into his nose, subtly spicy, flowing seamlessly and inextricably into his lungs. It mixed with his breath, mingled with his blood, sending that mysterious fragrance flowing throughout his body, making Leon's mind slightly lightheaded, as if lying on a velvet cushion, invoking a sensation akin to a mild intoxication. Wine? Moreover, this taste, isn't it the only bottle of intoxicating brew-grade wine from the one sent by the tourist director? Didn't I store it in the warehouse on the first floor of the Virgo Bureau? How did it end up in your hands? Shaking his head vigorously to dismiss the peculiar sense of intoxication, Leon asked, puzzled, "Director? Isn't this that bottle?" "Oh, never mind what it is. Just drink a big sip already. I wouldn't harm you." "While you may not intend to harm me, something's clearly off with this request." Watching the red-haired director, full of expectation and urging him to drink, Leon's eyes instinctively narrowed. For a director who loves wine to the point of obsession, seeing him drink the only bottle of good wine right before her eyes was akin to an act of provocation, something she surely wouldn't tolerate. Yet, this batch of wine had been enchanted by the tourist director with a word-spirit secret technique, tasting like wine only in his mouth, while to others it tasted merely like, wait, only in his mouth? Suddenly realizing a possibility, Leon looked at the red-haired director, whose eyes slightly evaded him, and exclaimed, full of shock, "Director, are you planning to snatch the wine directly from my mouth? Asterisk, damn it. If only this little brat were a bit dumber." Asterisk. Watching Leon's expression of 50% shock, 40% speechlessness, and 10% deep disdain, the red-haired director couldn't help but click her tongue in her heart. She then blinked her charming fox eyes and, blushing, pinched the corner of her clothes, saying, "What nonsense are you spouting? How could I possibly get that from your mouth? That's definitely what you were thinking." Easily seeing through the red-haired director's poor act, Leon gasped and quickly pressed his lips together, taking 2 steps back. Asterisk, goodness. No wonder you've been so nice to me today. You'd even sacrifice such a precious birthday wish just to help me get a usable anomalous object. So this is what you were waiting for. Asterisk. Asterisk, TCH. Looks like I can't fool you anymore. Asterisk. Watching Leon, who was retreating several steps with his mouth shut and defensive as if against a thief, the red-haired director blinked her eyes and then said sadly, "Leon, today is my birthday. I only have one birthday a year, and I just want to drink something nice today. Can't you? This isn't about it being your birthday." Watching the red-haired director use emotional tactics, Leon shook his head decisively and refused. "If you want a drink, I can treat you after we go back. At worst, I'll borrow money from the princess and buy whatever you want. But this really isn't something you can drink casually." Looking at the small bottle of wine in Leon's hand, the red-haired director said pitifully, "That was steeped with the god of wine's bead and has a trace of the fine wine authority in it. All the wine in the world combined can't match it, not even slightly less. The wine you can buy in the capital city is at least 2 levels below this. Dear Leon, I just want a taste of this on my birthday. I won't do anything else. And you already promised me before. How can you suddenly go back on your word?" I did promise you, but I didn't know you. Don't worry, just one sip." Seeing Leon's attitude somewhat wavering, the red-haired director was overjoyed. She quietly moved a bit closer while raising her hand to swear, "I promise, as long as you let me take a sip, I won't cling to you later, and I swear I won't tell anyone about this." "Dear Leon, today is my birthday. I fulfilled one of your wishes, so why can't you fulfill one of mine? As you know, I left my parents at a young age to join the Purification Bureau. I've always spent my birthdays alone. Enough already, enough." I agree." Unable to resist the red-haired director's persistent pleas, and worried she'd resort to force if unfulfilled, Leon reluctantly agreed to the strange request that threw dignity out the window. "Haha, I knew you'd agree. Relax. It'll be quick. Just close your eyes. It'll be over in a moment. Seeing Leon finally choose to give in, a hint of triumph flashed across the red-haired director's eyes. She eagerly urged, "Drink quickly, drink. Yes, yes, take more. Keep going. Take a bigger gulp. MMM." Hearing the red-haired director's urging, Leon took a large gulp of wine, his cheeks puffing, and glared at her angrily. Asterisk, that's all. If you don't stop, I'll swallow it myself. Asterisk. All right, that's enough. Realizing Leon's intent from his gaze, the red-haired director regretfully sighed. She carefully closed the cap, tucked away the remaining half-bottle of wine, and gently wrapped an arm around Leon's neck, rising slightly on her tiptoes. Asterisk, actually, despite her outrageous personality, the director is quite a beauty, even on par with the princess, who's famed as the most beautiful. Asterisk. Bowing his head slightly, guided by the hand hooked around his neck, Leon's gaze traveled from her fox-like eyes down past her delicate nose, finally settling on her slightly puckered pink lips. His heart skipped a beat, and his throat involuntarily moved. Honestly, I might have just a little bit of a heart. Ah, stop. Seeing Leon's Adam's apple move slightly, the red-haired director instinctively pinched it, forcing him to swallow the slipping wine, leaving Leon staring at her in shock. A bit of a heart cramp. Sorry. Realizing what she had done, the red-haired director awkwardly smiled at Leon. She quickly pressed her soft lips to his, while Leon, whose heart hadn't fully processed before it metaphorically died, opened his mouth slightly with a darkened expression. Asterisk MMM. Asterisk. Despite the absurd process and cause because of the fine wine, this not-so-pure kiss still felt fragrant and spicy. Feeling the heat surge straight to his core, Leon's eyes widened as he instinctively tried to pull away. However, the quicker-reacting red-haired director had already pushed him away, turning her head to try to spit out the wine. Unfortunately, just before they parted, the small bottle she gripped tightly revealed a rose-colored bullhorn sigil, turning the unfinished half-bottle of fine wine into bright red chili oil. Peh. Boo. Hastily spitting out the chili oil, Leon's tongue was numb from the spice, and the red-haired director fared no better. Her once pale pink lips turned a fiery red, swollen from the heat. Humph! With a familiar huff from both of them, the sigil on the small bottle vanished, and the almost visibly hot chili oil inside reverted back to clear, fragrant wine, as if nothing had happened. The chili oil they spat on the ground quickly pooled together, leaving a vivid red, angry message on the realm of the dead's pale soil. You too. You've really opened my eyes. You're back. Hearing footsteps behind her, Emma, sitting on a round stone by the lakeside stroking a crow of death report, turned around. Just as she was about to ask how things went, she paused briefly. The reason was simple. Although Leon and the red-haired director walked side by side, their gazes were cast in opposite directions and never met. One wore a look of awkwardness and shame, like being caught stealing chickens. The other showed frustration and regret, like a failed chicken theft attempt. Asterisk, judging by their appearances, could they have been caught stealing a coffin? Asterisk. With this thought, Emma's heart tightened. She quickly set down the crow of death report and went to them with a face full of concern. What happened? Was it the third generation? Why are both of your mouths swollen? We both tried to circumvent the word spirit of the tourist director, wanting the red-haired director to taste the good wine soaked with the god of wine's bead. But we were caught by the tourist director on the spot. He turned the wine into chili oil, leaving our mouths swollen and burning. How could we admit to that? After hearing Emma's inquiry, Leon's first instinct was to look at the red-haired director beside him, hoping she would take on the responsibility of the director and blur over the issue of their swollen mouths. At the very least, he didn't want Senior Emma to know that he had agreed to such a ridiculous request. Unfortunately, he wasn't the only one hoping for this outcome. Upon receiving Leon's "shouldn't you say something" look, The red-haired director unhesitatingly glared back, her fox-like eyes still wet with tears, clearly displaying her intention to shirk responsibility. According to the customary practices of kingdom officials, the merits of subordinates belong to their superiors, and the responsibility of superiors falls on subordinates. Now is the time for you, the subordinate, to play your part, so hurry up and shoulder this burden for me. No way. If I take this blame and Senior Emma finds out I'm ditching my dignity with you, how will she see me in the future? You can't face her, but can I? If she finds out about this, do you know how long I'll be scolded? What on earth is going on here? After waiting a while and seeing Leon and the red-haired director exchanging looks without answering her question, Emma couldn't help but urge them, "Are you going to speak or not? How did you end up with swollen mouths while returning a coffin?" Director, say something. Senior Emma is getting anxious. I won't. If you force me to speak, I'll claim you forcibly kissed me. Speak up. If you don't, I'll start talking. Noticing the determination in the director's eyes, Leon realized he had no choice. He braced himself and opened his mouth, desperately trying to come up with an explanation. But even after racking his brain, he couldn't think of a good excuse. After mumbling incoherently for a while, when he saw suspicion gradually replace concern in Senior Emma's eyes, Leon suddenly had a flash of inspiration. He first pointed to his throat, then shook his head vigorously while waving his hands. MMM.
Wha.
My throat is hoarse. I cannot speak, so don't question me. Go ask the director. Wait, you can actually do that. Surprised by Leon's temporary act of being mute, the red-haired director instinctively opened her mouth, trying to learn from his bold move, but Emma, noticing something amiss, had already narrowed her eyes and blocked her. Olivia, don't tell me your throat is hoarse too. It is. It really is. Both of us can't speak, so. If you've lost your voice too, then use your soul to speak. What exactly happened? Speak up quickly. I'll say it's all Leon's fault. To Leon's shock, the red-haired director, deciding to leave no stone unturned, actually lifted her hand to point at him, her face playing the victim as she exaggerated. He forcibly kissed me, making my lips swell. Nonsense. I didn't. Weren't you mute just now? Mutes don't speak. Shut your mouth. The two of you've truly broadened my horizons. Accompanied by the evaluation of content strikingly similar to the Taurus director's, Emma, standing on the crocodile god's head, complained with annoyance. For a bottle of wine, you've even resorted to this. Olivia, really? Couldn't you have survived without that sip? Well, dear Emma, today is my birthday after all. Can you ease up just a little with the scolding? Don't say it's just your birthday. Even if today were your death anniversary, I'd still say it. Usually gentle and mild, Senior Emma seemed genuinely upset, and after a rare reproach to the red-haired director, she turned to look at Leon, who was almost humiliated by guilt, and said in a tone of bitter steel, "And you too. Olivia misbehaving doesn't surprise me, but I didn't expect you to join in the nonsense alongside her. Do you remember what you promised Taurus, His Excellency? Leon, Olivia has no issues with her brains or abilities, only the flaw of drinking. If she doesn't change, sooner or later, something will go wrong with this. Instead of helping Olivia correct her problem with drinking, you actually accompanied her. Did you two really? I just thought since it was the director's birthday, and her only wish was for a sip, I went soft." After weakly explaining a few words, Leon recalled his promise to Taurus director when requesting alcohol, and he couldn't help but lower his head in shame, then solemnly assured, "Senior Emma, I promise this is the last time. I definitely won't indulge in the director's antics in the future." "What do you mean by indulging in my antics?" Hearing Leon's words, the red-haired director, sitting on the crocodile god's head, turned around and argued discontentedly. Besides, Emma, this is my first time kissing someone else's lips. Why do you make it sound like you were defiled? Be it looks or figure. Wouldn't you say you didn't lose out from my... Honestly, by that measure, I really didn't lose out, but only if during the kiss you didn't lock hold of my neck. That sudden grip was too much. It almost made the wine spray out of my nose. Also, what do you mean, besides Emma, this is the first time kissing someone else's lips? From what I hear, it sounds like you too. What nonsense are you spouting? Feeling a bit embarrassed under Leon's surprised and doubtful gaze, Emma glared at the red-haired director and then turned back to explain to Leon. At that time Olivia was drunk, and I was dragging her to the second floor. She was muttering something like, "Emma, you're so great," and trying to hug and kiss my face. Just as I was about to turn my head to scold her, I accidentally brushed against her lips. It was just a touch, nothing else. Oh. Nodding tentatively, Leon wisely refrained from pursuing more about the kissing incident as he noticed Emma's slightly embarrassed demeanor and looked instead at her not yet fully recovered right hand. Expressing some concern, "Senior Emma, how much longer until your hand recovers? The day after is your daughter's birthday. After going through so much in recent days, you still remember Ellie's birthday?" After casting Leon a surprised look, Emma's expression warmed a bit, and then she smiled. "It's fine. Even though it won't fully recover the day after. As long as I wrap it with a serpent bandage and avoid bumping into anything hard, it'll be okay. It won't stop me from celebrating Ellie's birthday. Oh, and Leon, about what I asked you to do. Don't worry, I've got it all noted down. On the 6th, 8 a.m., beneath the big tree at the entrance of Treasure Flower Manor on Redwood Avenue. I'll definitely be there. Thank you." Leon didn't know why, but after hearing the conversation between himself and Emma, the red-haired director, who initially seemed defiant and as if he wanted to say more, suddenly fell silent and sat motionless on the crocodile god's forehead. After chatting with Leon for a few moments about his daughter's situation, Emma also seemed touched by the memory, gazing up at the circling crows of death report above her without continuing to speak. The three of them remained silent atop the crocodile god's back, returning to the vicinity of the realm of the dead's entrance. "You two go back now." The red-haired director waved a hand at Leon and Emma, his face calm as he said, "The three directors have already sent out the directive list. With a 3-to-1 situation, the Aquarius director won't be able to resist for long and could be pulled into the realm of the dead by the Netherworld streetlight at any moment. I have to wait here for him to ascend the no-return path, so I won't be able to send you back myself. Afterwards, just follow the no-return path back. After you pass the black and white bridge and the nest of the crows of death report, and keep walking for a while, you'll see the canine deity guarding the entrance to the realm of the dead. Just let it shout once to send you back. Remember to always move forward on the road, and don't look back." "All right, I got it." Because Senior Emma was a frequent visitor to the realm of the dead, seemingly having traversed back and forth multiple times, and since this was Leon's first time in the realm of the dead, he was very aware that these instructions were likely especially for him from the red-haired director, so he responded. Curiosity got the better of him, and he couldn't help but ask, "Director, why can't we look back? If we look back, will it mean we can never leave the realm of the dead?" "Pretty much." Patting the big head of the crocodile god, the red-haired director pointed to the beach chairs by the Yellow Springs River, signaling it to take him over there. With his back to Leon and Emma, he waved without turning his head. For the dead, the no-return path is a road that can only move forward with no option to turn back. As for the living who accidentally fall into the realm of the dead and step onto the no-return path, although they can still turn back, this road hates such incidents and will do everything to keep those who try to return remaining here. Occasionally looking back wouldn't be much of an issue, just causing you to see some illusions, but if you look back too often and see too many things you can't let go of, getting your soul confused by the road, then you might not make it out. It sounded kind of dangerous. After listening to the red-haired director, Leon's throat moved slightly, and he quickly chose the safer option without hesitation. "Director, how about you actually send us off? I'm busy, No time to escort you. After jumping down from the crocodile god's head, the red-haired director comfortably lay on the beach chair by the Yellow Springs River. Picking up a magazine from the small table beside him, he waved dismissively without looking up and said, "Don't worry, Emma has been to the realm of the dead many times. With her walking with you, nothing will go wrong. Right, Emma? Asterisk, that makes sense. Senior Emma has been back so many times. It shouldn't be a problem, right? Asterisk. Staring at Senior Emma beside him, biting her lips as her arms, faintly tinged green, started to tremble unconsciously. Leon blinked in bewilderment and spoke somewhat confusedly. Senior Emma? What's going on with you? I'm fine. After giving Leon a somewhat forced smile, Emma looked up at the red-haired director reading the magazine, questioning with a slightly pale face. Olivia, did you bring all this up just to make me give up?
No.
Without even lifting her head, the red-haired director turned a page of the magazine and said, I'm just busy and unable to take you guys back. But rest assured, I'll be waiting by this river, not going anywhere. If either of you can't bear the pain in your heart and get led back by the no-return path, I'll pull you back. I won't look back. I've already made up my mind. I believe you. So when are you starting to head back? It always feels like they're implying something. After looking at the red-haired director saying she's busy while lying leisurely on a beach chair, and then looking at Senior Emma, who said she's made up her mind but wouldn't budge, rooted in place. Leon smacked his lips and, sensing the awkward atmosphere, tentatively suggested, How about, Senior Tom is still in the crocodile's mouth, Director. Why not let him out so the three of us can get back together? Can't let him out. Why not? Because he's already dead. With a loud shuffle of turning a magazine page, the red-haired director glanced at Leon expressionlessly and said, When I went with you to find the third-generation director to forge an anomalous object, Tom had already been digested by the crocodile, turned into excrement in the previous lake, and then eaten by a big fish. You don't need to worry about taking him back. What? Do you want to go back and join him? Got it. The director and Senior Emma indeed seemed to be at odds with each other over something. Since Senior Emma appeared to be afraid of walking the no-return path, the director purposely didn't send her, forcing her to return through the path, hoping it would make her change her mind. As for Senior Tom, turned into crocodile dung, either he had a way to help her, or he had some way to traverse the realms of life and death directly, and thus was forcibly banned by the director, not allowing him to exit the crocodile god's mouth. Considering the director's style of planning 10 steps ahead, she likely had this in mind when they first entered the realm of the dead, which is why she didn't mend Senior Tom's bone or bring him to the third-generation director. But why was I placed beside Senior Emma? And director, what's your plan? Although I trust your sober mind when not drinking, could you at least give me a heads up when you pull such stunts, so I can be somewhat prepared? What's wrong? Why aren't you going yet? After an unsettling silence that discomforted Leon, the red-haired director finished flipping through the four-wheel carriage structure disassembly, seemingly learning wagon repair skills, and looked at him with mild surprise, asking, Leon, why haven't you moved yet? Do you claim you've made up your mind, but your heart is still riddled with regrets, so you don't dare to step onto the no-return path, fearing the exposure of your inner fragility and hesitation? Oh yes, that's it, it's me indeed, yes that's right. Leon, baffled by an avalanche of reasons and labeled as afraid to proceed because of lingering regrets, was about to speak when a force suddenly yanked him, causing him to stumble. Senior Emma? What are you doing? Hey, slow down. Slow down. Name, no return path, deceased, soul. Appearance, a road paved with bone bricks that are pale yellow in color, starting from the entrance of the realm of the dead. It passes through well-known landmarks like the Gate of the Deceased, Nest of Crows of Death Report, Black and White Bridge, Yellow Springs River, Mortician's Corridor, Burial Garment Mirror Lake, Corpse Soil Black Forest, Baigu Palace, Sage's Cemetery, City of Regret, and Ghostly Mire, extending all the way to the deepest point, The Cliff of the End. Ability: shedding of the corpse, soul purification. Cost: cannot be used by the living. If completely killed, or if the contamination value is lower than 60 at the time of death, one will automatically become a user of the no-return path. File: this ancient road has existed for nearly as long as the realm of the dead, and was created by the overlords of the dead realm, the first deceased. It laid the bricks by pulverizing bones from its own corpse, forged with its soul fire. Newly dead souls walking on it gradually shed all remnants from their previous life as they venture deeper into the realm. They remove their clothes and skin, disperse flesh and blood textures, erode bones and organs, purify will and memory, and finally leap from the cliff of the end, returning completely to the world. However, among the users of the no-return path, those who refuse to believe they have died will wander within the mortician's corridor, endlessly reliving their death in this maze without an exit and witnessing the world after their demise until they accept death. As for those who are obsessed with their identity and appearance, and cannot shed the garments woven from their souls or forget their life's image, they will remain by the burial garment mirror lake, looking at their living reflection on the lake's surface until they give up maintaining all false facades. Those who indulge in the worship of power, or still have a longing for their flesh and blood form, will be taken to the corpse soil black forest to walk within it. Evaluation: don't touch it. This isn't something you should be dealing with right now. Contamination value stays the same as the user, granting each deceased an equal termination. Sage's Cemetery. Burial Garment Mirror Lake. Wasn't that the cemetery where the third-generation director was buried? And the large lake where Senior Emma often stayed? After recalling the scenes from before, Leon's eyebrows furrowed slightly. According to the system's introduction, the surface of the burial garment mirror lake could reflect the deceased's appearance from their previous life, and all of Senior Emma's kin were dead. She inherited the lives of her people. When she looked at the lake, was she seeing her own face, or those of the original owners of the Crows of Death report? Sorry. After vaguely understanding why Senior Emma preferred staying by the lake, Leon slowly withdrew his hand from touching the bone bricks. He shook his head at her, who looked quite tense, and gave a slightly apologetic smile. Senior Emma, the information provided by my ability leans more toward users, and this path can only be used by the deceased. I haven't found a way to keep it from affecting the living. Sorry about that. I see. Hearing Leon's words, a trace of disappointment flashed in Emma's eyes. Yet she shook her head and responded in a gentle tone. You needn't apologize to me. It's normal to have no means in the face of something like the no-return path. In fact, I should apologize to you. I shouldn't have let you come into contact with something so dangerous because of certain reasons. It's okay. Recalling the solitary figure by the lake, Leon shook his head to indicate it was fine. Then he sincerely and actively spoke. You saved my sister's life, gave me weapons when I first joined the Bureau, taught me what to watch out for during missions, showed me how to protect myself, and even went so far as to protect me by going down with the Goddess of Fortune. Senior Emma, I won't repeat my gratitude. If there's anything I can help you with, I hope you'll tell me. As long as it's possible to do, I'll do my utmost to accomplish it. I do have something I'd like to ask you. After looking gratefully at Leon, Emma, whose complexion was still rather pale, took a deep breath. She then willingly held his hand, bit her lip and said, Leon, my regrets are too many, and this road is too difficult for me. So, if possible, I hope you can walk it with me. When we reach the black and white bridge, further ahead we would provoke the no-return path. If I suddenly stop or want to turn back, you must wake me up. After hearing Emma's request, Leon nodded slightly, grasped her somewhat cold hand tightly, and then spoke with a face full of seriousness. I will definitely do that. Thank you. After making an agreement, the two, who had stopped not far from the red-haired director, held hands once more and started to walk toward the majestic bridge, built with black and white stones, that stretched over the turbid yellow river. Along the wide and winding no-return path, newly deceased souls, accompanied by the Crows of Death report, walked forward. Some wailing in grief, some lost and at a loss, and others with eyes full of confusion stumbled toward the depths of the realm of the dead. Compared to these uncertain souls whose bodies and wills were even occasionally incomplete, Leon and Emma, the only two with living, substantial bodies, who could walk backward on this path, should have been the heavier ones. But when Leon dodged too late and collided head-on with a hunched old man, passing right through each other, he was surprised to find that he seemed to have turned into a puddle of water or even a piece of air. Something incredibly solid seemed to have passed through his body unobstructed. Don't worry, this is the rule of the death realm. In the realm of the dead, the soul is greater than everything, while the physical body doesn't exist. Carefully avoiding a young deceased with a face full of angry blade wounds, who was walking quickly toward him, Senior Emma seemed to notice the puzzled look on Leon's face and explained, "The world's rules are above all else. Therefore, when traversing different worlds, our souls and bodies, or rather our existence itself, must adapt to the current world's rules. Just as descending holy spirits and true gods will form flesh and likewise need to breathe and eat, the living entering the realm of the dead with their bodies will also follow the rules of the death realm, with their existence accordingly adapting to the world." As she spoke, she squat down slightly and stopped in front of a sobbing little girl, gently giving her a hug. Yet this young deceased passed through Senior Emma's body as if walking through a breeze, continuing toward the depths of the realm of the dead. After noticing the non-existent embrace, Leon couldn't help but turn his head slightly, glancing out of the corner of his eye at the little girl. Although the dead little girl didn't linger, the tears on her face had disappeared. Her once terrified expression had become somewhat calmer, and her eyes, red and swollen from crying, opened again, quietly shedding fear and sadness as she curiously looked at the road ahead. In the world of the living, flesh is real, and the soul is untouchable. But in the realm of the dead, there's no flesh, only souls are acknowledged, and the body becomes an untouchable entity. Spreading open her palm, showing Leon the tear stains on it, Emma softly explained, "The souls and bodies of the living are inseparable, so in the realm of the dead, they become almost non-existent. Only things like will, belief, or emotions can affect other dead. As long as there's no particularly strong desire to touch a certain dead, we in the realm of the dead are just gusts of wind with a fixed form." After explaining the earlier situation, Senior Emma turned slightly to look at Leon and seriously advised, "Also, your soul's strength is not high yet. Remember not to contact the dead who seem special, like those full of resentment, regretful, or crying painfully. The emotions carried by these dead souls are too intense. If you interact with them too much, it will affect your soul's stability. After leaving the realm of the dead, you might still feel uncomfortable for a long time." "I got it." Seeing that Senior Emma still had a pale complexion but patiently explained the precautions to him, Leon couldn't help but nod slightly. Then he gripped her hand a little tighter. He wanted to be like Emma, who had just embraced the little girl and wiped away her tears, to bring Emma courage to fight against the no-return path by warming her cold hand. "Don't worry, I'm here." Was it? Feeling Leon's inner thoughts through their tightly held hands, Emma's gaze softened slightly. Then she took a deep breath, firmly grasping Leon's determined hand and stepping toward the black and white bridge not far away. Name: Black and White Bridge. Memory. Appearance: a long archaic bridge paved with black and white bricks spanning over the yellow springs of the realm of the dead. Upon stepping onto the bridge, every new brick will reflect a portion of one's life. Ability: happy memories, painful memories. Cost: none. File: after the overlords of the dead realm, the faceless man, died, they extracted all memories of their long life and classified them into happiness and pain, crafting them into black and white bricks. These ever-changing black and white bricks have completely different effects. Stepping on a white brick will recall happy experiences from one's life, while stepping on a black brick will recall painful experiences. Evaluation: just as one cannot know whether the following days will be joyous or sorrowful, no one can tell if a brick is black or white until they truly step on it. No one's life is filled with tears forever, and no one's life can be filled with laughter forever. Only by experiencing all the joys and sorrows personally has one truly lived life. Contamination value. Same as the users. A memory player? Habitually reaching out to touch the stone bridge's railing. After obtaining intelligence on the black and white bridge, Leon couldn't help but look worriedly at Emma beside him. If his guess wasn't wrong, the reading range of the black and white bridge should be limited to the user's memory, while his memory of this world was only of the past 3 years. Although after recovering from his illness, he began to rush around for a living, encountering many ugly and filthy situations, with many distressing and unbearable memories. Thanks to his younger siblings, overall it was barely happy. Those pains were unforgettable, but they couldn't overshadow the warmth in his heart. The only time he found unbearably painful was when Anna unexpectedly coughed up blood in the middle of the night, urging him to conceal her death so they could continue cheating a pension. Because of his joining the Purification Bureau, this result was avoided. So for him, the effect of the black and white bridge wouldn't be too difficult. Even if he couldn't withstand it, just thinking about the present days should help him barely get by. But Senior Emma, thinking of the large tree at Treasure Flower Manor's entrance, Leon fell into deep silence. Given her whole clan had been executed, leaving only her and her daughter, even if she fortunately steps on white bricks every time, reliving only those beautiful memories, recalling the final outcome would bring deeper torment. And Emma, beside him, obviously knew this too. She hadn't even stepped onto the black and white bridge yet, but just imagining the possible scenes made her lips turn pale from biting them. How about, I go first? After a moment of silence, Leon suggested, I just touched the railing, and it seems that the brick someone steps on won't change anymore. I can go on to the black and white bridge first to step on those white bricks for you. That might make it a bit easier for you. Hearing Leon's suggestion, Emma's pale lips moved slightly, as if she wanted to refuse, not letting Leon endure painful memories on her behalf. But before she could voice her refusal, a feeling of relief mixed with intense guilt transmitted straightforwardly into Leon's heart through their tightly clasped hands. Then it's decided. Gripping Emma's hand tightly, conveying back the thoughts of it's okay, and I'm willing to do this for you. Leon took a deep breath and stepped purposefully onto the stone bridge paved in black and white. White brick. As Leon's foot landed, the once misty bridge surface of the black and white bridge became clear. A white brick, just large enough for an adult to barely set foot, emerged quietly and warmly beneath Leon's foot. Thank you, truly thank you. Gripping Leon's hand firmly, Emma, with a particularly soft gaze, tiptoed to take a step forward, gently landing on the edge of the white brick that Leon had cleared. Brother, you're back. As her toes touched the ground, the world in front of Emma suddenly darkened. She found herself standing in a pitch-black alley, with every muscle that could exert force fiercely twitching in pain from fatigue that made her feel dead tired, tormenting her eyes into blackouts. And in this world, filled to the brim with both reality and bodily darkness, the only thing still shining was the distant dim oil lamp and the pale, delicate face of a young girl, full of surprise and illuminated by the lamp. Anna! Just like in Leon's memory, after calling out the name of the girl in front of her, Emma felt all her fatigue ebb away suddenly, like a receding tide. Even her shoulders, which seemed to bear the weight of 1,000 pounds, felt suddenly lighter. However, instead of joy and happiness, what replaced it was a lingering sense of remorse and shame. I lost my job. After drooping her head and saying this, Emma, or rather Leon of the past, explained with a face full of regret, I really wasn't slacking off, but I could only carry about half of what others could. The foreman only gave me half a month's wage and told me not to come back to the dock tomorrow. You did well enough. As the dim oil lamp and the girl's gentle footsteps came closer, a comforting voice, free of any hint of blame, whispered in Emma's ear after a warm embrace. Brother, it's not your fault. I know you must have done your best. I've saved dinner for you, so come on inside, eat, and get some rest. Senior Emma? A puzzled murmur at her ear, and the warmth from a hand pulled Emma out of a memory that wasn't hers. After shaking her head blankly, Emma, noticing Leon's slightly puzzled look, came to her senses and apologized. I'm sorry, I think I might have seen a memory of yours. Looking at the faintly glowing white bricks beneath her feet, Emma whispered, if I'm not mistaken, if two people step on the same brick, the person who steps on it second seems to see the memories of the first person. Leon, if you mind, it's okay, go ahead. Remembering the first time he lost his job at the dock and cried secretly somewhere before Anna consoled him warmly, Leon smiled a bit sheepishly. In my memories, there shouldn't be anything too unsightly, and if back then in the hospital you hadn't saved Anna, these memories would have… Well, anyway, if seeing my memories can help you cross the black and white bridge, I won't mind. Thank you. Holding Leon's warm, strong hand, the sincere and passionate emotion warmed Emma's heart from her hand, and her hands finally stopped feeling slightly cold, bringing a touch of color back to her pale face. Once she was ready, Leon, who had one foot still outside the bridge, clenched his fist, then lifted the other foot to stand entirely on the black and white bridge. The white brick, similarly, represented happiness. With Leon's promise, Emma also mustered the courage to step onto the bridge with both feet. Big brother. This time appearing in front of Emma was Leon's younger brother, who, though adorably chubby-cheeked and always wearing a serious face, looked like a little adult. At this moment, Emma, or rather Leon in the memory, stood beside a wall, staring dazedly at a nail in it, while standing beside Leon against the wall was William, lifting his head and asking seriously, Big brother, are you sick? Was Leon sick this time? Hearing Leon's brother's question, Emma couldn't help but be slightly taken aback. Shouldn't be, right? Leon stepped on a white brick. This should be a happy memory, shouldn't it? And the Leon in the memory seemed to share Emma's confusion, shaking slightly and then saying with a perplexed face, No, I've been a bit tired lately, but there shouldn't be anything wrong with my body. Don't lie to me. William, the little adult, looked seriously at Leon's, then lowered his head to look at his own, also shuddering slightly before frowning and saying with a serious look, If you're not sick, how could it be so swollen over there? Cough, 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 coughing up a storm with the loudest voice he'd ever used in his life to forcibly pull Emma from his memory. Leon, who hadn't expected the memory of the brothers relieving themselves by the wall to be captured by the black and white bridge, looked awkwardly at the somewhat dazed Emma. So, I was thinking, though I don't mind sharing my memories with you, Senior, but given the circumstances, it's a bit special. So, could I maybe filter the content first and then you step on? Through their tightly clasped hands, feeling the embarrassment boiling over in Leon's heart that made one want to burrow into the ground, Emma, coming to her senses, understood what she'd just seen. Recalling that strange yet vividly real sensation, Emma's fair face flushed suddenly. Even her delicate earlobes turned a shade of pink, and she hurriedly turned her head away. All right, okay. Damn it. I was wondering why I got so lucky this time, stepping on 2 white bricks in a row, only to find out this was waiting for me. Cursing his luck, Leon took a deep breath and stepped out for the 3rd time. White brick, still a white brick. This time it was Melanie who appeared. Though she was mischievous and loved causing trouble most of the time, she was a heartwarming little darling. And the beautiful memory related to her was when he sold newspapers in the freezing rain, caught a fever the next day, and Anna ran out to buy him medicine, while Melanie, with William's help, brought back several crow eggs to help nourish her feverish brother. Well, up to this point it was actually quite nice, except that in the following week, his house was crazily attacked by a furious group of crows, bird droppings covering everywhere from the door to the windowsill. By the time he recovered and went to clean with a scraper, the grayish-white dried bird droppings were over 2 fingers thick and needed to be tapped with a hammer before being scraped off. It took him 3 to 4 days to barely clean it up. To this, one could only say, a warm little jacket is warm enough when needed, but when it leaks, it really leaks. After viewing this warm yet hilarious memory, Leon couldn't help but shake his head helplessly, then squeezed Senior Emma's hand to signal there was nothing to avoid this time and that she could step on. However, Leon squeezed a few times continuously, but Senior Emma, who was behind, didn't move forward, remaining silent. A near-overflowing sorrow flowed through their tightly clasped hands into Leon's heart. "Emma, my daughter." With this heart-wrenching sorrow that seemed to split his heart in two, Leon felt a slight pain in his ears. A call, sorrowful with a tinge of anger, but also full of worry and reluctance, trembled into his eardrums. 6 years. How have you been? Was this Senior Emma's mother's voice? After feeling the surge of Emma's inner pain through their tightly clasped hands, Leon gently reminded her, "Senior Emma, whatever you heard, it's not real. There's no family of yours behind us. Only by moving forward can we find your daughter." After hearing Leon's reminder, a pale Emma nodded slightly. Then, following the pull of the hand, she stepped into Leon's memory for the third time and saw a little girl, covered in dirt with arms scratched and bleeding from branches, yet happily offering a nest of bird eggs for her to see. A warmth penetrated right into her heart, gently infusing Emma's heart through Melanie's mischievous smile. Though it couldn't melt the remorse surging in her heart, it did calm her down somewhat. The cries behind her, like weeping blood, still wrenched Emma's heart each time. But as her feet repeatedly trod on the white tiles, Leon's family's poor yet warm memories became a gentle hand. It not only cradled her heart softly, but continuously tightened the strands of reason that were about to snap, giving her the courage to take steps forward. In contrast, Leon, who held her hand, heard through their connected souls the lamenting sobs and many angry reprimands constantly coming from behind Emma. "Sister Emma, I liked you so much. Why did you harm me? You are the Bauhinia family's sinner. If it weren't for your leaked information, would we have died? Traitor! How dare you still live? I am disappointed to have a daughter like you. If you still know what shame is, turn back and see how we truly died. Go away. Don't come back to disgust us. The last Bauhinia, fine. Live on with this shame. Emma, it's been 6 years. Won't you just turn back and let me see you one more time? Okay?" Even with Emma's soul serving as a barrier and only hearing bits of the content faintly, the resentment and grievances in these voices were still more piercing than countless sharp knives. And those soft sighs full of disappointment from Emma's direct relatives, mixed among the scoldings and accusations, chilled Leon's heart time and again. After learning about the term "the last Bauhinia" for Senior Emma, Leon had deliberately checked some old newspapers, vaguely finding out some conditions from over 6 years ago. 6 years ago was the national war phase when the Bauhinia family launched a coup seemingly allied with the invading Ice Plains nation Ashido. There was even a claim that the invasion of the Ice Plains nation was somehow related to the Bauhinia family. It was precisely because this information was leaked prematurely that the Bauhinia family was forced to launch a hasty coup. The royal family, perceiving the crisis, had to retaliate with the harshest execution to stabilize its position, leading to Bauhinia Alman, once on par with Lionheart Lion, dying with only Senior Emma and her daughter left. And if the leak was truly related to Senior Emma, then with her character, she must have been tormented by guilt without end for these 6 years. Hearing the curses from her clan and the size of her family, it would be hard to resist turning back. Furthermore, the conflict that had just erupted between the director and her seemed to have some other meaning. Although neither of them explicitly said it, from what they were implying, it seemed Senior Emma was preparing to do something, which the director did not want her to do. She wanted to make her abandon it by forcing her to walk the no-return path. Then, what could be the thing Senior Emma was driven to do by guilt or regret, and the director was trying so hard to stop her from doing? Leon. When Emma detected Leon's increasingly chaotic thoughts through their tightly clasped hands, her heart gave a slight tremble, and a deep sense of guilt surged up. She only needed to wait for Leon to step on a white tile, then pass safely across this bridge of memories under the protection of his beautiful memories. Leon, however, had to face his own pain again and again. When repeatedly encountering black tiles, he had to constantly retreat and try again until a safe white tile was found for her to step on. And it seemed, perhaps due to not so good luck as they continued forward, the number of times Leon needed to probe increased. He sometimes had to step on 3 or 4 black tiles in succession to find another white tile. Since the two stepped onto the bridge, Emma had walked over 60 steps, whereas the number of black tiles Leon stepped on had exceeded 100, indicating he had relived painful memories more than 100 times. At such times, it should have been she, the senior, standing ahead, shielding him from wind and rain. Yet, due to her weakness and hesitation, she could only let him stand out and bear it all, reliving those painful experiences in his life repeatedly. This is truly unworthy. Let's move together. Gently tugging Leon's hand, having witnessed almost all of Leon's wonderful life, Emma suggested with a voice as gentle as water, "Leon, you don't have to pave the way for me anymore. I should be able to now." "No way." Hearing those still piercing words in his ear, Leon refused without hesitation. "Don't push yourself. I can feel the state of your soul. You're only slightly stable now. If those memories get stimulated, I don't think you can hold up. You tell me not to push myself, but aren't you doing the same?" Gently biting her lip, Emma softly proposed, "How about you keep stepping on the tiles for me and share your memories with me? But don't specifically seek the white ones anymore. Let me step on the black ones too. Since these tiles are the ones you step on, the memories I see are mostly yours. Only some scenes from my memories will appear. I should be able to endure. All right?" After feeling Senior Emma's soul and confirming she wasn't just pushing herself but genuinely had confidence, looking at the black and white bridge already at its end, Leon nodded slightly and moved his foot, revealing a corner of the black tile beneath his foot. Noticing Leon's action, Emma took a quiet breath and then lifted her foot, stepping onto Leon's painful memory. "Brother!" The familiar thin girl appeared in front of Emma again. But this time, the look on Anna's face was not the gentle and happy expression she had when looking at herself in the past. It was calm and with a hint of subtle regret. After a moment of silence, the girl, white as paper on the hospital bed, slightly turned her head away and, with a voice as weak and stubborn as if it could dissipate with her at any moment, quietly suggested, "How about just not worrying about me?" Huff, huff, huff. Almost collapsing, Emma leaned heavily on Leon, the back of her beige chiffon dress soaked through with cold sweat. Even though she had already broken free from Leon's memories, the mere thought of the suggestion made by the thin girl, a proposal as cold and frighteningly realistic as it was, recalled how she spoke about disposing of her body after death, with a calmness like discussing what's for dinner. Emma's heart still ached like Leon's did in the past, as though it had been completely gouged out, being crushed bit by someone's hands, until even breathing became nearly impossible. Was this what Leon had been enduring all along? After gulping down big breaths for a while, she looked at Leon, who was helplessly supporting her. Emma, who seemed as though she had been fished out of water, couldn't help but tremble as she asked, "Leon, does it not hurt?" Leon, understanding what she was asking, slightly shook his head and then glanced at the system prompt. "Through your observations and reflections, coupled with repeated experiences, you have obtained substantial intelligence regarding the black and white bridge. The heterochromatic badge, Materialist Soul, Crimson, has been activated. Due to your deep understanding of the rules of the black and white bridge, your resistance to this anomalous object has significantly increased, allowing you to block extremely deep levels of influence. It was impossible for it not to hurt. He would surely remember this for the rest of his life. But with the influence being largely blocked by the materialism, and knowing the outcome was ultimately good, he thought about how he would tidy up at home every day, getting along with Anna and Melanie. Those pains became less unbearable. There's still a little pain. Seeing the shock and guilt in Emma's eyes, who clearly misunderstood the robustness of his inner strength, Leon felt slightly embarrassed and explained, "But when I think about how I joined the Purification Bureau in the end, preventing things from actually reaching that point, how Anna and the others are good and waiting for me at home, still leaving me meals if I'm late, it's not so bad." Was that so? After hearing Leon's explanation, Emma tried to put herself in his shoes. But no matter how hard she tried, the The thin girl who calmly suggested secretly tossing her body into the sewage river to deceive the pension and support her younger siblings, continued to tear at her heart again and again. How could it not hurt? I only saw your memory once, and my heart already felt as if it were being cut by knives. For me, you repeatedly relived the past powerlessness and pain to help me step on the white bricks. How could you not be sad? Don't think about it. Watching Emma, who seemed like she wanted to say more, Leon considered her situation and couldn't help but offer a bit of comfort. The past pain is gone. Rather than focusing on what we've lost or suffered, let's look at what we still have and treasure those in front of us. Treasure those in front of us. Emma had heard similar advice from the red-haired director countless times, but after sharing Leon's memories on the black and white bridge, experiencing his past happiness and pain, faced with Leon, who had lost his parents early, struggled to raise his siblings, joined the Purification Bureau for his sister, becoming a cleaner with a high mortality rate, genuinely making efforts to cherish what he had, this oft-heard comfort finally reached her heart for the first time. Senior Emma? After looking at Emma, who was staring at him blankly, Leon released her hand and squatted slightly. It's only a few dozen steps to leave the bridge. Should I just carry you the rest of the way? Though instinctively wanting to refuse, looking at Leon's not-so-broad, yet seemingly so reliable shoulders, Emma remained silent for a while, then leaned forward, resting on Leon's back. Once in the air, she listened to Leon's steady and powerful breathing, felt the slight thinness of his back, his heart beating like a flame warming her, and Emma's tense body completely relaxed, leaning comfortably and reaching gently to wrap her arms around Leon's neck. Treasure those in front of you. At last, they were off the bridge, stepping on more than 20 black tiles, turning everything black up to the bridge. Leon couldn't help but let out a big breath. Although the influence of materialism shielded him from reliving the painful memories too vividly, even torment at a tease through the shoe level, when repeated often, became unbearable. After quickly walking a few steps forward, completely leaving the black and white bridge's range, seeing that Senior Emma hadn't spoken, Leon, who had just shown off a bit, was too embarrassed to remind her to come down, so he looked up ahead. What met his gaze was a black cliff so high it seemed endless. This cliff, named Death, gradually lightened in color upward, with the seemingly non-existent top appearing directly connected to the gray sky of the realm of the dead. As for Death's lower end, like the dark earth of the dead realm, was purely black, so much so that it barely reflected any light, as if it didn't exist, giving the impression that stepping on it would lead straight into the abyss. Countless bright red crows of death report nests appeared like fresh red berries growing on this black ground, curving from the ground up to the sky, or like drops of fresh blood oozing out from the black canopy descending from the sky in large numbers, vivid yet extremely eerie. Something doesn't seem right. Narrowing his eyes, Leon squinted at the black wall and the red crow nests. The end, or rather the beginning of the no-return path, after witnessing a massive misty door. He gently tapped Emma's thigh, signaling her to look up, then frowned slightly. The director said that we just need to walk straight along the no-return path, past the black and white bridge and nest of crows of death report, to see the canine deity guarding the dead realm's entrance. But now that we've passed the bridge, reached the crow nest's range, and even seen the entrance, why haven't we seen the so-called canine deity yet? It's fine. Just keep walking ahead. Hearing Leon's question, Emma, drawing warmth from the person in front to fend off the increasingly mad curses behind her, replied, "People from the realm of the dead don't quite like the director, so she must have forced her way in. As the canine deity's responsibility is to guard the entrance of the dead realm, preventing the living from entering, she probably beat it up. So we can walk a little further. If there's a fainted little dog with 3 heads tied up by hair on the roadside, that's most likely the gatekeeping canine deity. If we don't run into it on the way, we can turn over the crow nests near the entrance." Sometimes, after defeating the canine deity, the director, fearing she'd forget where she left it, would casually stuff it into the nearby crow nests to avoid trouble opening the door on her return. Oh! The director was as much of a bastard as always. Leon clicked his tongue, somewhat speechless, before trying hard to shake the unfriendly thought from his mind. Following the method Senior Emma had taught him, he began searching along the path for the canine deity that the director had knocked out. A comatose, three-headed puppy wrapped in red hair. A comatose, three-headed puppy wrapped in red hair. As the saying goes, heaven rewards the persistent. After silently reciting this 17 or 18 times, Leon finally spotted a dog that basically matched the criteria, not far ahead. As for why it was only basically Senior Emma, looking at the three dog heads, each 2 circles bigger than a round dining table, soaking in the pitch-black swamp by the no-return path, Leon couldn't help but say, speechlessly, "This dog's heads alone are this large. If we pull it out entirely, it'd be at least 5 or 6 meters long. This can't be considered a small dog, can it? It's very large for us, but among the deities of the dead realm, it's one of the smallest in size." Emma, on Leon's back, explained softly, "In our world, souls exist by attaching to bodies, so the priority of the body is very high. If the size is too huge, it becomes difficult for the flesh to support itself. So unless we encounter an evil god or such, which can briefly erode the world's rules with special rules, it's hard to see anything massive on land. The rules of the dead realm are different from ours. Here, the body doesn't have its existence acknowledged, so as long as a soul can sustain it, the size of a creature in the dead realm can grow almost infinitely, even as big as a mountain. As for the canine deity responsible for guarding the gate of the dead realm, it spends most time outside the dead realm and is one of the few deities with a physical form. That's why it's the smallest among all the true gods of the dead realm." That made sense. Thinking about that overlord of the dead realm who ground its bones into bricks, paving the path from the entrance of the dead realm to its deepest parts, Leon couldn't help but nod with sudden understanding. Indeed, if that first deceased didn't have an enormous body, it might not have had enough bones to grind into powder, but still, how should we wake it up? Looking at the canine deity's fangs that were longer than his own feet, Leon hesitated before asking, "Should we just shout loudly at it? Or maybe pat it? Also, since the director knocked it out, would it even be willing to help us open the door?" "It'll help." Glancing at the three-headed canine deity soaking in the swamp by the road, Emma spoke with a complex expression. "Olivia's reputation in the dead realm is quite remarkable. She came here many times for my sake and has communicated with the canine deity a lot. So when it sees me, it will send us out. As for waking it, it's rather simple. The canine deity relies on its nose to distinguish between the living and the dead, and it's very sensitive to the scent of the living. So, we just need to blow a breath at its nose." "Oh!" Understanding Emma's euphemistic explanation, Leon marveled at the notorious reputation of his director while carefully descending from the no-return path to the edge of the swamp, blowing a strong breath at the unconscious canine deity's nose. Woof! Even though Leon stood 17 or 18 meters away from where the three-headed dog was sunken, as soon as he exhaled with the breath of the living, the 3 heads, 6 eyes, the 12 eyelids, simultaneously flickered. "Alive!" Accompanied by a still somewhat unclear mumble. The pink dog nose, the size of a basketball and closest to Leon, twitched violently. The ears, previously drooping on its forehead, suddenly stood up, lightly twisting left and right, searching for the nearby sound. The teeth, which were already somewhat exposed, bared in extreme hostility. "How dare you venture into the dead realm? I'm going to..." "Angsai!" Noticing this, Emma, on Leon's back, leaned forward slightly, boldly confronting the 6 giant dog eyes glaring at them, and loudly asked, "Do you recognize me?" The 6 lantern-sized eyes, flickering with ghostly green phosphorescence, carefully scrutinized Emma for a moment. The awakened canine deity's facial muscles twitched slightly, and with a displeased expression, it said, "It's you. Are you planning to visit your family in the City of Regret again? Didn't they say they wouldn't see you? How can you not understand what giving up means? City of Regret?" Hearing the canine deity's opening, Leon's eyes narrowed slightly. If he remembered correctly, That place was for those whose regrets or grievances were so strong that they refused to move forward. It housed many dead who were unsatisfied in soul, until they were forgotten by all living beings, when no one remembered them anymore, or until those they regretted, resented, or held grudges against, or the events surrounding those feelings, faded away with time or death. Only then would these dead leave the city of regret and continue on the no-return path to the cliff of doomsday. So, some of Senior Emma's kin, at least a portion, hadn't completely moved on and continued to reside in the city of regret, constantly harboring resentment toward her? This is none of your concern. Seemingly pained by the canine deity's questioning, Emma's face paled slightly before she bit her lip and said, "Help us open the door. We need to leave the dead realm now." "Fine, open it for you. You damn cleaners always like to use the anomalous objects in your hands to break the rules and do things that shatter the boundary between life and death." The giant dog head revealed a distinctly human-like disdainful expression as the three-headed canine deity stared at Leon and Emma with a face full of malice. "I'll remember your scent. When you return here as the dead, I'll surely bite you each with a big chomp. Especially you." "Oh?" Staring at the three-headed canine deity, who was glaring viciously at him, Leon asked, somewhat dumbfounded. "Me? It's my first time in the dead realm." "Ha ha. Before you lie, why not first ask this woman who I am?" With a forceful snort, blowing out the black-yellow swamp sludge from its nose, the three-headed canine deity said disdainfully, "Regarding strength, I'm the weakest among the true gods of the netherworld. But as for the nose, no one can surpass me. With one sniff, I can tell that you came to the dead realm about 3 years ago, and recently you've almost entered the realm over 100 times, only to escape back using anomalous objects. Am I right?" Recently, indeed, counting the times he'd used Yang Jiao and Yang Xian to evade death, it had been over 100 times. But 3 years ago, wasn't that when I just arrived? Ha! Ha! Speechless now, aren't you? As Leon furrowed his brows in thought, the three-headed canine deity, thinking it had rendered him speechless, grinned triumphantly, suddenly opening its mouth wide to let out an ear-splitting roar. Woof! Accompanied by the deep and forceful bark, the massive doors in the distance creaked open slightly, and Leon and Emma vanished without a trace, as if swallowed by a black hole, taken by surprise. "Get lost already." Spitting thrice in the direction they disappeared, the three-headed canine deity grumbled in irritation. "Damn Purification Bureau. Damn cleaners. And that damned red-haired woman. When she finally dies, I'll surely... Ampu?" Catching a familiar scent, the three-headed canine deity turned its head in surprise, looking at the crocodile god emerging from the swamp behind. "What are you doing here? You never usually..." Not bad, quite the spirit," the red-haired director, with the crocodile god's head serving as a footrest, cheerfully inquired while facing the terrified three-headed canine deity in front of her. "After I die, what do you plan to do? Give me a hard bite too." "Not just one bite. I'd wish to bite you 1,000 times. 10,000 times." Thinking such things in his heart was one thing, but saying them in front of this woman would be asking for trouble. The three-headed canine deity, who had been beaten by the red-haired director countless times, knew full well when to follow his inner guidance. Facing the tightening hair around him, when you really come, I'll make sure to greet you at the gate personally." When guarding the gate, he had to fight this red-haired woman out of duty, or else abandoning the gate would easily damage his authority. But now that he had been beaten by her, he considered his duty fulfilled and saw no need for another beating. Escaping the confines of the gates of death, the three-headed canine deity swiftly transformed from a stubborn watchdog into a submissive, obedient dog. His 3 dog faces, larger than dining tables, were full of flattery as he said, "Madam Olivia, are you done and planning to return? Need me to open the gate for you?" "No, I haven't finished my business." Turning down the three-headed canine deity's offer, the red-haired director, with a faint smile, said, "If you could guard the gate the way you are now, I wouldn't have to hit you so often." "Well, My authority involves dividing life and death. Letting you in directly wouldn't sit well with the Dominators. I understand your predicament, so I never hit you too hard. Alright, let's leave the small talk at that for now. After gazing at the massive doors that had shut again in the distance, the red-haired director composedly inquired, "You said Leon visited the realm of the dead 3 years ago. Is that true? Leon? That man with the heavy demonic scent, right?" Yes, yes. Recalling slightly, the three-headed canine deity quickly nodded his massive head as he said, "I guarantee with my authority he definitely came once, and that time the scent of death was very strong. It's certainly not the feeling of being briefly captured by the road of no return after using an anomalous object to escape death. It was the kind of death that's very thorough, very complete. Died thoroughly." The red-haired director frowned at this and continued to question, "Then how did he return back then?" Upon hearing the red-haired director's question, the three-headed canine deity couldn't help but secretly roll his eyes. "Isn't he from your virgin branch? How your guy came back from the realm of the dead? Shouldn't you ask him instead of me?" Although he had a rant he wanted to voice, didn't you notice he didn't have a Crows of Death report over his head? His should have flown with him into the depths of the realm of the dead 3 years ago. "I see." The red-haired director nodded, narrowing her eyes slightly as she asked, "Angsai, you are the true god with the strongest perception in the realm of the dead. I'm asking you, is Leon's soul closely bound to his body?" "Huh. What I mean is the soul in his body actually the original soul of that body?" The three-headed canine deity hesitated slightly before speaking unsurely. "It should be, right?" "What do you mean by it should be?" The red-haired director frowned and said, "Give me an accurate answer, either yes or no." "Then, yes." The three-headed canine deity tucked his tail between his legs as he cautiously replied, "I didn't sniff anything off, really. That death 3 years ago might have caused some disruptions to his soul, making his past memories very jumbled. But his soul and body should be just some memory chaos? That's good, that's good. Upon hearing the three-headed canine deity's answer, the red-haired director couldn't help but feel a slight relief in her heart. She originally intended to quietly follow behind to ensure Leon and the other person could safely leave the realm of the dead. But after overhearing the conversation between Angsai and Leon, she couldn't resist coming out to ask a bit. After all, the Purification Bureau is humanity's last line of defense. If someone from the old soil or somewhere else had really infiltrated, it wouldn't be a joke. As the director of the Virgin Branch, regardless of how unwilling she was to doubt Leon, she had to be extra cautious about this. Now, with the canine god's response, Leon's innocence was preliminarily proven, allowing her to feel slightly at ease. After all, whether Emma could overcome her inner hurdle ultimately depended on whether Leon could offer assistance. Reflecting on the scenes she witnessed along the way, especially Emma, who usually didn't like physical contact with others, peacefully resting on Leon's back, the red-haired director couldn't help but sigh deeply. According to the agreement between the Purification Bureau and the Master of Starry Skies, cleaners are allowed to make up to 3 blessed wishes on their birthdays. Her first wish today wasn't actually to drink that bottle of Leon's wine but to resolve Emma's issue. Following her inner guidance, for this wish to come to fruition, it ultimately had to depend on Leon. As long as she refused to let him and Emma leave the realm of the dead swiftly, allowing the opportunity for him to understand Emma's unspoken past, there was a likely chance to solve Emma's problem. Come on, Leon. Whether you can prevent Emma from doing something foolish is all on how you proceed from here. I have risked such bad luck on my birthday, 3 times consecutively, just to gain this chance to resolve the issue. So don't let me down. Oh, speaking of the 3 misfortunes arising from the 3 wishes, instinctively touching her still slightly burning lips, the red-haired director furrowed her brows slightly. The Master of Starry Skies' curse on a cleaner using wishes would instantly trigger as soon as the user followed their inner guidance to complete all the tasks required to fulfill the wish. According to the sequence of the 3 wishes being achieved, assisting Leon in obtaining a handy anomalous object was the first to be completed, so the misfortune resulting from that wish would appear once Leon acquired the anomalous object. By the timing, would that mean losing her first kiss to Leon? Could that really be considered misfortune? As for wanting to taste the flavor of that bottle of wine, it was today the second fulfilled wish. The misfortune as a result was very apparent. She had just tasted the flavor of that wine, only to be intensely burned, with her lips still somewhat swollen. Emma's matter was the last to be resolved. Logically speaking, her misfortune should have struck around their departure from the realm of the dead. But why hadn't anything unfortunate happened up until now? What on earth was this last misfortune? Senior Emma? Looking at the bustling street in front of him and the curious glances from passers-by, Leon couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed as he inquired, or rather reminded her, "We've already left the realm of the dead. Are you feeling better?" Emma lightly nodded her head, and seeing Leon's slightly flushed ears, she couldn't help but let out a gentle laugh before releasing her arms from around Leon's neck. "I'm feeling much better now. You can put me down." "Okay." Hearing Emma's words, Leon, who felt a bit uneasy under the surprised gazes of the onlookers, quickly squatted down slightly and let Emma off his back. He then proactively asked, "Senior Emma, would you like to come back with me to the bureau first, or?" "I think I'll head home first." Gently smoothing out the creased clothing on Leon's back, Emma reached out to adjust his crooked collar. With a gentle gaze and a soft voice, she said, "Ellie must be missing me, and I want to go home and see her too, so I won't be accompanying you back to the bureau. By the way, Leon, are your siblings free the day after tomorrow? Would Anna and the others be free?" Upon hearing Emma's words, Leon was momentarily bewildered, then nodded and said, "Anna won't come of age for a few more months and hasn't started job hunting yet. She just helps manage the apartment, so she should be free. William and Melanie are in school, but the day after tomorrow is a public holiday, so they're both free as well. Since they're all free, can they come over the day after tomorrow?" Without seeing any signs of reluctance in Leon's eyes, Emma cautiously suggested in a low voice, "Ellie, her situation is quite special, so she hasn't been able to attend school and doesn't interact with kids her age. She doesn't have many friends. If it's possible, could you bring your siblings over the day after tomorrow?" So that's how it was. Imagining for a moment a well-behaved girl like Senior Emma, unable to attend school due to family reasons, left alone in an empty house, waiting for her mother's return, Leon felt a surge of pity in his heart. "No problem." Determined to sternly instruct the two troublemakers at home not to bully the young girl, Leon patted his chest and promised, "As long as there's nothing special happening, we'll definitely be there by 8 in the morning the day after tomorrow." "Thank you, then I'll be on my way." With a smile, Emma bid farewell to Leon, hailed a steam cab, opened the door, and got in. As Leon turned to leave, she couldn't help but look through the cab window at Leon's back, which, although not broad, seemed especially reliable. She remembered the time Leon got drunk at the bureau, and she had to take him home. He had plucked a bunch of celery from the balcony, handing it to her like a bouquet, confidently declaring that age wasn't an issue, having a daughter wasn't an issue. Were those words sincere? Unexpectedly, there was an unforeseen gain. Unaware that someone was looking at his back, Leon, after sending Emma onto the cab, eagerly opened the badge panel and looked at the new badge that popped up after leaving the realm of the dead. Escorted to the realm of the dead by the sin-eating crocodile Ampu, you, as a living being, stepped onto the no-return path and were sent back by the guardian of Death's Watch Angsai. Upon returning to the realm of the living, you successfully activated the hidden golden badge, the Survivor. The Survivor, a being who once came extremely close to death but ultimately survived. Effect of wearing. As someone who has witnessed the afterlife, you will become extremely sensitive to the presence of death and can vaguely sense impending death. Advancement route, none. Hidden traits. No need to wear as a living person who left the realm of the dead. Your scent has already been firmly remembered by the guardian of Death's Watch Angsai. Once it catches a whiff of your scent, it will awaken directly from its long slumber outside the gates of the realm of the dead. Therefore, unless you have sufficiently powerful companions nearby, it's best not to approach the gates of the realm of the dead, or you'll be fiercely bitten by all three heads. This was basically a death alarm, compared to having a vague precognition of death. Getting bitten by a dog while passing through the gates of the realm of the dead didn't matter at all. He didn't even know how to go to the realm of the dead by himself, so it was impossible to pass through the gates alone unless someone took him out. And if someone did and he was already gone, then getting bitten would be the least of his worries. He could deal with death's matters once he was dead. After reviewing the effects of the survivor, Leon immediately adjusted his badge panel and equipped this newly acquired badge. Currently, Leon's badge panel had 7 slots. In them, materialism took a stable position, and the similarly abnormal immortal in liquor required copious drinking to activate, so it didn't need to be equipped often. When invincibility was required, he could switch it temporarily. Among the remaining golden badges, the one that made others bow, Migratory Thrush Prince, took 1 slot. The Sheepgut series, I Am the Demon, and the Holy Spirit series, Deputy, both needed constant equipping, already taking up 4 slots. For timely retrieval of items from the mirror world and communication with Young Ha, Poop Scooper, though merely an iron badge, needed frequent equipping, adding up to 5 slots already filled. As for the egg-beating Pity, it's not. The guise-deceiving Master Performer, the secret technique inheritor, Aquarius, and the shooting expert, they could only share the last 2 slots and be replaced as needed. Now that the death-predicting the survivor had arrived, it took up another long-term slot, which meant the remaining 10+ badges would have to rotate in the last slot. Having acquired a decent badge, the slots had become more strained. Feeling the faint death auras on the surrounding passers-by through the survivor, Leon couldn't help but let out a sigh of regret. Pity, the slot determination for materialism, didn't apply to anomalous objects he'd forged himself. Otherwise, he'd simply create a few more pieces of junk to meet the standard of acquiring 16 anomalous objects and unlock the 8th badge slot. For now, he'd have to make do. With a sense of regret at not being able to exploit a loophole, Leon identified the street he was on, found that it was not far from the municipal district, and decided against hiring a cab. Instead, he walked towards the Purification Bureau. After returning from the boarding tower, he discovered that Senior Emma was in trouble, following Senior Tom nonstop into the Scales Gold Sect gathering. He wondered how those rebels and Senior Peony were doing. Although middle-aged Joshua hadn't lied, the door he opened for them must have been safe, and with Senior Peony protecting them, they were unlikely to be in danger. Still, it was hard to rest easy without seeing them in person. Oh right, speaking of Senior Peony. At this thought, Leon couldn't help but touch his cufflinks, his face showing a strong sense of guilt. Sorry, Senior. Although I didn't lose your brother, your rear end might be gone, and it's probably in the hands of the Goddess of Fortune, and I don't even know how to ask for it back. Creak. Accompanied by the grating sound of rusty door hinges, the small gate at the corner of the wall was slowly pushed open. A tall, beautiful woman with fair skin and soft features slightly bent down to pass through the doorway, stepping into the now semi-abandoned garden. Though it was already in a semi-abandoned state, this incredibly vast garden still exuded an elegant aura. Numerous plain stones engraved with peony motifs encircled the dried-up marble fountain at the garden's center, forming several petal-shaped, secluded paths. These pebble-laden and leaf-strewn paths, clearly neglected at first glance, crisscrossed and wound outward. They passed fallen stone pillars, abandoned sculptures, a delicate greenhouse with shattered glass, courtyard walls with peeling paint, and extended to the garden's farthest corner next to the only place still maintained, a small wooden hut. Ellie. After walking all the way down the path to the door of the small hut, Emma, carrying a large bag of items, gently knocked on the door with the back of her hand, which hadn't turned jade-colored, and softly called, "I'm back. Are you home?" As soon as Emma finished speaking, the door of the small hut was pulled open. A little girl with 2 light chestnut braids, each tied with a ribbon, darted out like a butterfly, landing gently in Emma's arms. "I'm sorry to have worried you again." Gently stroking her daughter's head, Emma said softly with a tender gaze, "Don't worry. No matter what, Mommy won't die. As long as you're at home waiting for me, even if I really do die one day, I'll come back little by little. I will never leave you alone again." The ribbon-wearing little girl still said nothing, only gently nodding. Then, as if suddenly remembering something, she released her arms from around Emma's waist and brought her slightly clenched right hand in front of Emma's eyes. What do you want to show me?" After placing the items she was holding on the cabinet by the door, Emma crouched down, smiling as she reached out to the little girl. The adorably cute little girl then earnestly placed her right hand onto Emma's palm, gently opening it. "Did you catch this in the garden?" Glancing at the tiny pink and blue butterfly flapping its wings in her palm, Emma couldn't help but smile with delight, but then asked, her eyes showing a trace of guilt, "It's so beautiful. Ellie, thank you for the gift. Mommy loves it. But what about you? Have you been okay these few days? Was it a bit lonely being at home alone?" Hearing Emma's words, the little girl with twin braids first nodded slightly, then shook her head vigorously, giving her a big smile. "It might have been a little lonely, but now that you're back, Mommy, I'm not lonely anymore." Understanding her daughter's nodding and shaking meant, Emma bit her lips slightly and was about to say something when she noticed the tiny butterfly suddenly took flight. The little girl had released the gentle grip on the butterfly and instead grasped Emma's bandaged right hand. Seeing the hint of green peeking through the bandage, the little girl's clear black and white eyes blinked twice. Then, full of worry, she raised her hand and pointed to Emma's right hand. "It's nothing, just a little scratch." After lovingly kissing the little girl's forehead, Emma explained with a smile, "Mom did encounter some trouble this time out, but it's all been resolved now. The little injuries will heal in just over a week. Don't worry." Hearing Emma's assurance, the look of worry on the little girl's face slowly faded, and she regained her happiness. She released Emma's hand, quickly ran back to the room with the pink sign, and brought out a slightly crumpled drawing of 2 colorful little figures, presenting it proudly to Emma, who was changing shoes. "Is this a drawing from last year's birthday?" Emma unfolded the slightly wrinkled drawing, recognizing that the big and small colorful figures sat around the table, clapping, looking at the round shape on the table likely representing a cake, and the small crown on the little figure's head in the center. Emma hesitated slightly. She then squatted down with the drawing, earnestly asking, "Ellie, do you remember when Mommy told you that on the day after tomorrow on your birthday a big uncle would come?" After listening to Emma's question, the little girl blinked her eyes in surprise. Uncle? Isn't it a big brother? There's actually quite a bit of age difference between you two, and since he's Mommy's colleague, it's better if you call him Uncle. Understanding the confusion in her daughter's eyes, Emma blushed slightly as she explained, then secretly clenched her fists. Her ears burned a little as she quietly asked, "Ellie, would you like to have, do you like a lively atmosphere at home?" Feeling slightly embarrassed by her daughter's seemingly understanding eyes, Emma hurriedly changed the subject. "I meant to say, on your birthday the day after tomorrow, besides Uncle Leon, his sister and 2 friends around your age are coming too. They'll all celebrate your birthday with you. Are you happy? Free? Friends?" "Yes, friends." Seeing her daughter's surprise mixed with anticipation, yet a slight hint of apprehension, Emma knew that she longed for friends who could talk but was worried about getting along. So, she embraced the little girl, softly comforting her. "Don't worry, I looked into it ahead of time. Although they are lively, they're all really good kids. You will surely have fun playing with them." Hearing Emma's assurance, the little girl couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief, her delicate little face displaying an adorable expression of excitement and anticipation. "That's good then." Although her voice, like a wind chime under the eaves, was crystal clear and beautiful, The little girl seemed to rarely communicate with others, resulting in her speech being somewhat slow and her pronunciation a bit unclear. But with friends of her age coming to celebrate her birthday, the usually quiet girl still blinked with anticipation and tried her best to speak with hope. "Do they like flowers? I grew some in the small greenhouse, and butterflies, small birds." Recalling the flocks of crows throwing droppings onto the windowsill in Leon's memory, Emma couldn't help but twitch the corner of her mouth. Rather than cute little birds, Leon's unusually lively younger siblings probably preferred climbing trees to snatch eggs. Better keep an eye on them so they don't take Ellie's favorite little bird's nests. Those two kids should still like birds, right? Telling a white lie, Emma changed into loose indoor shoes, took the little girl's hand, and walked inside. Just as she was about to ask what happened in the past 2 days, she saw a large cleared area behind the garden from the small hut's window. In the past 2 days? Has someone been here? Noticing the newly cleared space at the back of the garden, Emma instinctively furrowed her brows. The majority of the Bauhinia family's assets had been confiscated 6 years ago, but this estate built by the first-generation king was not taken due to its extremely special significance. So even though she didn't want to remember those sorrowful memories and didn't want to live in the empty estate with just her daughter, choosing to move to the small cottage in the corner of the garden instead, the estate still nominally belonged to her, and no one should be trespassing. Could it be a break-in? But why would a thief bother to clean up the land? With a head full of questions, Emma pushed open the window to take a look and found that not only had the back of the garden where she and her daughter lived been cleared, but there were also signs of maintenance along the carriage path from the main gate to the main building, with gravel and weeds on the ground already cleared away. 7 or 8 brand-new tire tracks stretched along the main road to the front of the main building. The broken stained glass windows on the first floor had been removed, and even the partially collapsed servants' quarters on the roof had been dismantled. The flower beds in front of the main entrance were a mess of footprints. Was someone trying to move in? Seeing the messy footprints in the flower beds and the large amount of horse manure that hadn't been cleaned up yet, Emma couldn't help but bite her lip in anger. Even though she didn't care much about this empty house, this estate had once been her home, where she lived for more than 20 years. For someone to try to seize it without even a word was truly outrageous. "Ellie, tell Mommy." After closing the back window in irritation, Emma tried to calm down, asking as gently as possible, "What's going on behind the garden? Who's been here in the past few days?" In the past few days, many uncles with ladders and tools have come, and they even pushed down the big badge in the middle of the building and replaced it with a new one. After trying to recall, the little girl gestured with her hand as she spoke. The badge had a small bird with a pointy beak, green feathers, and black and white stripes across its belly. A pointy beak, green feathers, and horizontal black and white stripes on the belly. The golden cuckoo emblem? After hearing the little girl's description, Emma turned pale at a possibility she could not accept. Without even changing her shoes, she ran out of the cottage, climbed over the garden wall, and rushed towards the main building. When Emma walked to the front, seeing the front of the main building that was not visible from the cottage, and clearly recognizing the pattern on the new badge, her cheeks immediately flushed red, and the usually gentle eyes suddenly flared with an icy glare. The golden cuckoo emblem. Yes, she should have realized. There was another person besides her who had the right to live in Treasure Flower Manor. Looking up at the curtain wall of the second floor of the main building, she saw the golden cuckoo emblem shimmering with green light in the sunset. Emma silently turned her head and found the badge belonging to the Bauhinia family in the flower bed used as a garbage pile by the building. Golden cuckoo. Leonard. Her delicate, pale fist clenched tightly and then slowly relaxed, then clenched again, repeating several times before finally letting go completely. After staring intently at the two badges for a long moment, Emma let out a faint sigh, walked with heavy steps to the edge of the flower bed, and picked up the Bauhinia badge that had been dented at one corner from the garbage pile. Stay calm. More important than dwelling on the past is cherishing the people who are still here. Focus on what you still have rather than on what you've lost. When Leon carried her out of the realm of the dead, She had already resolved to try to let go of her hatred temporarily for Ellie's sake and to embrace a new life. But her fingers unconsciously applied slight pressure, causing the huge copper badge to slightly deform as Emma's teeth dug into her pale lower lip, leaving a small row of deep teeth marks. Asterisk, why can't I just let it go? Asterisk. Stand still. After helping William and Melanie tidy their clothes, straightening out the crooked little outfits, Anna squinted slightly and reminded them, "Do you remember everything I told you before?" "I remember." Adjusting his little bow tie, William calmly recited, "When we see Aunt Emma, we have to greet her, and when we see little sister Ellie, we must wish her a happy birthday, not cause trouble to embarrass our brother, and not break anything in someone else's house. Most importantly, absolutely do not mention your world-conquering dream." After adding a line, Anna turned to look at Melanie, who was twirling and happily swirling her little dress. She emphasized with some concern, "Your dream of being a couch potato is also not to be mentioned." "Got it. Got it." Upon hearing her sister's special reminder, Melanie in front of the mirror pursed her lips, complaining with an overwhelmed expression, "There are only a few rules in total, and you've been repeating them since yesterday. We've memorized them already. Okay? Memorizing them is best." After giving the most worrisome Melanie an eye, Anna softened her tone slightly. "Ever since our brother got his job, Sister Emma has helped him a lot, and she's my lifesaver. Well, she's been a benefactor to our family, so you must respect her, and you absolutely must not bully Ellie." "We won't." Having fixed his little child bow tie, William nodded in satisfaction and then said earnestly, "Brother has said that in life we may lose money but we shall not lose integrity. If someone helps you, you must remember it well. I've always kept this in mind, although I'm not sure if Melanie can, but I definitely can." Of course I can too." Realizing Anna's gaze was on her, Melanie, sensing danger, quickly straightened her face, imitating William's serious demeanor, and raised her hand to swear, "If I cause trouble today, or make little sister Ellie cry, then I'll give all this year's pocket money to William." Was she really that resolute? Hearing that Melanie had made such a vow, Anna finally relaxed a bit, went out to call for a carriage, while William couldn't help but glance at his sister. Since she was not talented in math and got only 5 points on a recent test, anything involving numbers, such as pocket money, had been taken over by her, who declared herself a future minister of finance of the empire. Now that Melanie had suddenly sworn on her pocket money, could it be that if she caused any trouble today, she planned to rely on William's pocket money for the whole coming year?